I don't even have my headphones in.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Here we go.
welcome back.
We're back. It was the weekend. Now it's Tuesday, the 28th of April. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is ETN, the European Technology Network. Elix.
Leave that data business bank behind with our wallets.
There
we
we
love
go.
to hear it. We love to see them. Welcome back to the European Technology Network. What a time to be live, my friends. You're tuned in. The day is Tuesday, 28th of April. It is 4 minutes past 11. We are slightly behind.
No. I have to say, I was slightly behind. Ronan was perfectly on time.
It's a team effort over here at ETN, you know. Everyone's mistakes are the team's mistakes, you know.
Are you saying I made a mistake?
I'm not saying anyone made a mistake. I'm just saying everything we do is a team effort.
Yeah, okay.
Let me tell you about the docket. Let me tell you about the lineup today.
We have a massive lineup today. I'm very excited.
We have a show for you folks.
Put this in the right
To open up the show today, we've got Simon Kohl, founder at Latent Labs. This one's pretty nuts. They just launched Latent Y. Simon,
just hold on. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Here we go.
Hear that? That's the sound of quality.
Indeed it is.
Quality's from Framer, build better sites faster. Simon Kohl, founder at Latent Labs, recently launched Latent Y. It is the world's first general drug design. With AI, Simon actually helped co-develop AlphaFold 2 over at DeepMind.
Yeah, that guy's smart.
He co-led DeepMind's protein design team. After Simon, we've got Sean Mullaney, the one and only from Seapoint. People might not know this, but Seapoint were actually one of our first backers back in the day. So this must have been about 7 months now. They're a financial operations platform. They've just come out with a seed raise. We're very excited to talk to him. It's a who's who all-star team of payment operations platforms, essentially. He was a European CIO at Stripe, CTO of AI at Algolia. He's also co-founded a few companies back in the day. From the research I could find, it's about 3. This is before he went on to lead like executive teams at incredibly large financial services startups. And we're going to be digging into him. What's it like being back in the trenches? You know, like half of the Seapoint team are actually like Stripe alumni, which is going to be really interesting to chat to him. After that, we've got Daniel Fisher, head of categories and expansion at Whatnot. Live shopping is now estimated to be a $22 billion market. For those who have seen, I'm pretty sure it was sort of led in Asia first. It's coming to the West. It's doing incredibly well. Daniel Fisher is going to be chatting to us about what have they got going on, how much money are these people making on these live streams. Just for a taste, Whatnot surpassed 8 billion in live sales GMV in 2025 globally. Specifically in the UK, GMV growth was up 281%. So people are loving the live shopping. You love to see it. After that, I'm going to have to hit a trumpet for this one. We got Lewis Mosley, Executive Vice President at Palantir. For those who didn't see, there's been a little bit of back and forth with Lewis and Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party. Essentially, the debate is around Palantir and the NHS. We're going to be digging into the chronological relationship of what that looks like. How did it start? Initially, it was in COVID. Palantir were helping out, tracking sort of hospital bed capacity, and basically like helping the NHS organize itself around the global disaster. Then there was a contract signed, one of the largest UK contracts for this particular segment of 330 million, I believe it was.
390 million, wasn't it?
This is for the federated data platform. It was connected siloed data across 240 NHS trusts. Now the public is starting to work on, not the whole of the public, but like there's a narrative going around whether should we use the break clause with this agreement for 2027. We want to dig into what would the UK lose if that was to go ahead. What is his response to Zach Polanski's video? And we're also going to ask him about the highlight video that our team made him. We hope you like it. We had a really good time building. That's a shout out to
reposted it this morning, so shout out to Louis. So I think it's Louis. I think that's how you pronounce it. Not Lewis. I think, yeah. We'll have to ask him.
We'll ask him on the show. Followed by that, we've got David Frykman, founding general partner at Norrsken VC.
One of the biggest VC firms in the Nordics, I believe, if not the biggest.
If not the biggest. They are working on a petition, essentially, to rally people behind the fact that we have a bit of an energy crisis going on here in the EU. He's the founding general partner of Norrsken VC. He's been in the game for 25 plus years. So yeah, we're going to be digging into that. What is this new petition that he sort of rallied a lot of people behind to get backing? Essentially, the argument is pretty straightforward. Europe has suffered 3 energy price shocks in 4 years. Industrial electricity in the EU costs roughly twice that of America. So we're going to be digging to that with him. Then we've got Hardy Michael, co-founder at Marloo. It is the AI partner for financial services advisors. They've just raised 10 million seed to move beyond the note-taking era. I'm very excited to dig into him. And then we also got Ben Staudt, I'm hoping I'm getting it right, founder at Patronus Group. They're building a wearable for the elderly. This is a Series A Berlin-based company has raised 33.8 million in total funding over 2 rounds, and they're essentially building a sort of wearable tracker for the elderly, so it doesn't infringe on, we're monitoring you too much, but it just helps families be more aware of what's happening with their loved ones, with the elderly. Following that, we've got Andrey Doronichev, founder and CEO at Optic. This is going to be, so this is background. Andrey led a 200 plus person product organization at Google and was the founding PM for Google's VR and AR group. He's now doing Optic. It's a pioneer in AI-driven technologies that unify scientific discovery and business strategy for biopharma. So a lot of biopharma agentic stuff on the docket today. Then we have, finally, Philip Johnston, co-founder and CEO at Starcloud, the man who needs no introduction. He's putting data centers in space, a pioneer for the space economy, one that is emerging and getting a lot of attention right now. The fastest Y Combinator company in history to reach unicorn status. We're also going to ask him.
And they just hit a $1.1 billion valuation as well. Yeah. They just raised back in March, I think it was. And so yeah, it's going to be good to dig into what they're using the money for, where they're deploying, what's the, are there an R&D? Are they? I'm sure they're hiring an absolute load of people. Who are they working with specifically? I'm super interested in their dynamics between the kind of chip manufacturers and them. I know they work super closely with NVIDIA, and Johnston actually announced something at GTC back at the beginning of the year to like alongside Starcloud essentially. So I know they have their they have a few, I think they've like manufactured specific chips NVIDIA has for Starcloud. So I'm going to, I want to deep dive into like what does that look like, right? What does a chip manufacturer, what does that market look like, right, for Starcloud? I feel like it's very kind of, personalized almost to Starcloud, right? They're doing something that not very many other companies are doing. They just signed a big deal with the SEC. And so it will be interesting to kind of deep dive on all of those dynamics. So it's going to be a really cool interview. I'm very, very,
He's
very
also just got engaged. So we're going to be asking about his proposal.
God, this guy's been busy.
Super busy. People are saying it's one of the most romantic gestures that's ever happened on Earth.
I swear he wrote it on a chip that went to space.
Yeah, so it like flew over their heads in a satellite when they were in Mexico, and he did it like as that was happening. So I think like during the proposal, he was like, "Oh, by the way, that satellite that's right above us, like it was like the
first like H100 chip to ever be in space," and he wrote
proposed on it. Well, we're going to dig into it with him. It's going to be fun. So look forward to.
He's still thinking about life, about he's not just grinding on the work. He's
locked in on both, locked in on romance, locked in on an emerging
it's
market.
It's hard, that's a hard feat to.
Yeah, one of the greatest to ever do it. Let's go into some of the news that we've got today.
We've had an incredible weekend of news. I've been deep in reading this weekend. It's been very, very fun. So yeah, let's dive in. Let's go to the first thing. Before we do that, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Go to base.org, please. You should. It's a great app. Right, let's go to the next. Let's go to the first news segment. Where is it? I'm trying to find it. God, Doc's long today.
I know we've got so much news.
Oh yeah, Ineffable Intelligence. Ineffable Intelligence has raised.
They play the trumpets for us.
Oh, okay. Nice. Europe's largest seed round, $1.1 billion pounds at a £5.1 billion valuation. He is ex DeepMind. Wired did an incredible profile on him on David Silver. So let's read that.
So dollars, not pounds.
Is it dollars? Yeah. Okay, $1.1 billion at a $5.1 billion valuation. The man behind AlphaGo thinks AI is taking the wrong path, was the headline from Wired. Incredible. I'm going to read a little bit of the profile now because it is just so good. So thanks to, I actually don't know who wrote this. I probably should know. Will Knight. Yeah, he usually writes most of them. Anyway, David Silver gave the world its very first glimpse of super intelligence. In 2016, an AI program he developed at Google DeepMind, AlphaGo, taught itself to play the famously difficult game of Go with a kind of mastery that went far beyond mimicry. Silver has since founded his own company, Ineffable Intelligence, that aims to build more general forms of AI superintelligence. The company will do this, Silver says, by focusing on reinforcement learning, which involves AI models learning new capabilities through trial and error. The vision is to create super learners that go beyond human intelligence in any domains. This approach stands in contrast to how most AI companies plan to build superintelligence by exploiting the coding and research capabilities of LLMs. Silver, speaking to Wired from his office in London, big up London, says he thinks this approach will fail. As amazing as LLMs are, they learn from human intelligence rather than building their own. He says human data is like a kind of fossil fuel that has provided an amazing shortcut, Silver says. You can think of systems that learn from themselves as renewable fuel, something that can just learn and learn and learn forever without limit, he says. I've never met Silver. I've met Silver a few times, and despite this proclamation, he's always struck me as one of the more humble people in AI. Sometimes when talking about ideas he considers silly, he flashes a puckish grin. Right now, though, he's deadly serious. I think of our mission as making first contact with superintelligence. That's such a cool sentence. He says, by superintelligence, I mean something incredible. It should discover forms of science and or technology or government or economics for itself. The post goes on, but it's go and read it if you can get into Wired, because I don't think it's paywalled. But it is a very, very good profile, and that was the first maybe 20% of it. But I thoroughly
enjoyed
watching that. What's your take?
Yeah, so he was one of the OGs at DeepMind, obviously. He
met Demis Hassabis at a chess tournament when they were super young. Like when they were, in their teens, if not earlier, I don't know when. But when
I think it was at Oxford.
No, they met at... Oh, really? Okay, well, they met at a chess tournament. I know that. And then they just became mates, and then they started working together. And there you go. So AlphaGo is created.
So they met at Oxford when Silver was studying something around proteins, and he was initially the one who brought the problem of protein folding to Demis.
Okay, you got it.
When they were...
Is this explained in
16,
the book?
17.
The Sebastian Mallaby book?
Yeah. And he just kind of mentions it off the cuff to Demis, and then it's kind of poetic that further down the line it would be Demis that starts DeepMind, brings him in, and then they get to solve the problem that he mentioned in the uni dormitory together. But there's a really good piece here that kind of touches on the background of how they meet. Yes, Silver met Demis Hassabis, the CEO of Google DeepMind, at a chess tournament when they were kids. And the pair later became lifelong friends and collaborators. They remained close after Silver left Google DeepMind, which he did only because he wanted to chart a completely new path. I feel it's really important that there is an elite AI lab that actually focuses 100% on this approach. He says that it's not just a corner of another place dedicated to LLMs. So he's very passionate. Two, he's very very different to your typical AI leader, which is funny now because now he has to be included in the conversation like a thinking machines, like an OpenAI, like an Anthropic. Again, it's not quite at the leading level yet, but you could put it in the same bracket as a thinking machines just in terms of its stature and its status. He, however, has already pledged 100% of anything he makes from this to the Founders Pledge, something that I think Anton is also a part of. It's an unprecedented amount. No one has ever pledged 100% of anything they make for this. So he's literally, from the get-go, put a stamp down and saying, like, I don't care at all about money. This just needs to be done. And it sort of denotes here a little bit more about what he says in terms of like the LLM ceiling.
Yeah,
is a similar, I guess, a similar thesis to Jan Lee Kun that says that there's a limit on this type of stuff. But the article goes on to say, like, the limits of the LLM-based approach can be seen, Silver says, with a simple thought experiment. Imagine going back in time and releasing a large language model in a world that believed the world was flat. Without being able to interact with the real world, the system, he says, would remain an avid flat earther, even if it continued to improve its own code. An AI system that can learn about the world for itself, however, could make its own scientific discoveries. Silver compares the current state of AI to understandings of biology before Darwin. There were all of these people trying to understand what life was, but no one had a unified view that really explained what life was until Darwin came along, he says. So like a similar, which seems to be a more popular take now, in the sense where it's like, there's obviously a ceiling here. The training of these models needs to breach that of just text. We need to put them in the world and let them learn from the surroundings.
Well, I think it's super interesting because you know what he says when it's like, you know, we've taken an incredible shortcut, which is probably something that, you know, humans are efficient creatures and they find the most efficient ways of doing things, right? It was a shortcut to get to the place that we're at now with AI and moving super quickly, where it's like, we'll just train the AI, do pre-training, on everything that's on the internet, every book, everything that humans have created, all knowledge, you know, in the world that's been created since the inception of humanity. And therefore it will then become, you know, super intelligent or not super intelligent, it will just become very intelligent in everything that we've kind of created. But what he's doing is kind of taking a first principles, approach where it's like, well, if we're going to go and do that second principle, right? Like that's like, we're teaching the AI model on everything that humans have already done first principle. This is now like, we're going to rewrite the playbook of what is first principle? What does that even look like, right? And that was what you just said, right? It's where, you know, the simple thought experiment of like, if it was like, if the world was flat, you know, it was like you would teach something
based
the world
off
was
the
flat,
text,
right?
it would be like, oh, the
exactly.
world's flat.
And so like, it will just assume that from second principle, because, you know, that's what first principle has told you. So now it's like, if you're going to teach it from first principle, whatever that looks like, it will then be able to come up with, you know, technologies, physics, whatever that humans hadn't even like thought of. So it's a very obviously very ambitious target, but super interesting. And I think so. Alfred Lin came out with an X article about this, and I thought it was super interesting. And one particular point was almost like going against the grain in terms of going against the bubble, right? Sequoia say there's only a very, very small number, less than a handful of people who have done truly foundational work, Huang says. Dave is one of them. And I think that basically speaks right to itself, where he's like, I'm not taking the shortcut now. I am truly going for something that is, foundational. No one has kind of ever done it. So I think it's worth probably reading a little bit of Alfred Lin's.
Also, Sonia's in there as well. Sonia liked our post. So shout out to you, Sonia.
Let's go. Well, that quote was from Sonia Huang. But let me read some of this. So we could get this up if you want. It's on the doc. I've added it. But while you do that, where you go and find it? Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. So it starts and says, what does it mean to build a mind that is not a copy of our own? Today, we're excited to announce that Sequoia is partnering with David Silver and Ineffable Labs, a new AI research lab based in London with a singular mission to make first contact with super intelligence. That should be their slogan, man. Make first contact with super intelligence. I think that's such a... Put that on a t-shirt, I'd wear that every day.
I like this like sci-fi style of approaching this stuff. Like I remember when.
Well, this is kind of sci-fi, right? Like this is like,
hell yeah,
we're gonna create an alien, guys.
Yeah, I remember when
like they're literally actively saying our goal is to create an alien.
Yeah, literally. I remember when
I don't know what the definition.
I got told off for this for when we were at Convergence and we were prepping our launch. Like I had to write like a manifesto basically.
Sure.
And mine was like, we have, this is for browser.
Well, all of you had to write a...
No, it was just me and like the head of product. Like,
right.
Mine was like, can you come up with like a manifesto for like the marketing side?
Oh, I see. I get you. Fine.
And I wrote mine and we were like, okay, let's write a different one each and then we can have a look at them and if we need to blend them, just so we're not like biasing and we're not...
You're quite good at that.
No, but I go a bit too much. So I
tasked you to create our like philosophy type vibe.
Oh yeah, ETM, what a time to be live.
What a time to be live.
But I went well too over the edge with. I still think it would have worked well, but it was essentially like we have entered into like the frontier of AI research. Like we are at the frontier, and the stuff that we found is like mind-boggling. It's also a little bit scary. Like all this sort of stuff. It's like we've made contacts. Like this is insane. Like
we've made contact with the first web agents.
Yeah, we were building browser-based agents, right? So it's like you could probably be like, okay.
So your co-founder was like, shut up.
But after that, he was like, yeah, this is like well too sci-fi book.
You're gonna scare people.
But that is also why I do believe that the Mythos thing was, because I've been there. I've been there before when we were going to announce our raise. But anyway, sorry.
Are you comparing yourself to Dario? We're in a Dario in the same room. They think the same.
Obvious similarities there.
Let me continue. So Ineffable is building what David calls a super learner, a system that discovers all knowledge directly through its own experience, from elementary motor skills to profound intellectual breakthroughs. No pre-training, no imitation, just an agent learning endlessly from consequences of its own actions in a world built to teach it. A reinforcement learning-based superlearner has the potential to rediscover and then transcend the greatest inventions in human history: language, science, mathematics, and technology. Imagine a machine that derives the laws of physics from its first principles, that invents new branches of mathematics we never thought to ask about, that designs materials, medicines, and computers we don't yet have the vocabulary to describe. That this is the prize David is reaching for. It's a different path. The current generation of AI was built by training on the entirety of the human internet. It's an extraordinary achievement, but a system trained on human data may also have fundamental limitations. Ineffable intelligence is scaling reinforcement learning from a clean base. No pre-training, no human data to shortcut the system. Guided by the era of experience as a North Star, David is proving that agents trained purely from an environment can develop non-human strategies for reasoning about problems we don't yet know how to solve. It goes on. It's not that long. Go and read it. It's obviously free. Go to Alfred Lin to go and read that because it's super interesting.
It's got some cool notes here on the AlphaGo stuff with Lisa Daw. If anyone hasn't seen...
You're liking the history of this story. I'm liking the
But it's just so this is such a good documentary. At DeepMind, David drove the key breakthrough that finally solved the game of Go, self-play. Self-play drove the 800 ELO point leap that led to the historic AlphaGo vs. Lisa Daw showdown in March 2016. This was one of the most watched events live at the time, of all time. It broke. It
was the first time records. Actually not the first time, but like one of the times when a technology, AI probably the first time it kind of broke through into the wider scope of humans.
Yeah, well, the first one was IBM's Deep Blue, which was focused on chess. Sure. But Go was like infinite. There are more grains. There are more strategic moves in Go than there are grains of sand on Earth. On Earth. So that's how many pathways that they had to plan around. Sure. But David pushed the idea further still with AlphaGo Zero, removing human pre-training entirely and learning purely through self-play, increased the system's ELO rating from 3,700 to 5,000 plus. The result was a system that reached decisively superhuman performance and with somewhat non-human mannerisms. So elements there of this early understanding of we do not need there is not a need for human/text-based pre-training for this type of thing. So it kind of speaks to the lineage of what he wanted to do previously, and now I guess what's happening here, which is really interesting.
No, it's very interesting. So, look, congrats to the Ineffable Intelligence team. Actually, we wanted to watch a video. I thought this was super interesting, and we should, because this is a wicked interview.
Get this up.
So, this is from Vitrupo, at Vitrupo on X. David Silver says human data has been AI's fossil fuel. We mine it and burn it in our LLMs, he says. The sustainable fuel is experience, systems learning from the consequences of their own actions. Let's watch this.
Pull this up.
Are we good?
Nice.
To borrow a metaphor, fossil fuels that we discovered in the earth, and
I love
this
these
human
interviews.
data just happens to be
They're
there,
so great.
and then we kind of mine it and burn it in our LLMs, and that gives them a certain level of performance that they have for free. But then we need, in the analogy, some kind of sustainable fuel that kind of keeps the world going once all the fossil fuels are gone. And I think that's what reinforcement learning is. It's the sustainable fuel, this experience that it can keep generating and using and learning from and generating more and learning from it. That's really the process that's going to drive progress in AI. And I don't want to in any way denigrate what's been done with human data. I think it's great. AIs that we've got now are amazing, mind-blowing things. I love them and enjoy working with them and do research on them myself. But it's just the beginning.
No way. The end is
Cool little edit there.
We should have a little guy in in the sky.
A little guy in the sky.
Come out after all our clips.
Chat to the sponsors about that.
Imagine our sponsors' logos at the bottom of that. That would look so good.
Guy in the sky. I love. This is the first time I've seen David Silver speaking. I've only read about him I've only read about him in one book, which is Sebastian Malibu's book, but. He's got. I can see this guy. He looks like a guy that I want to.
He seems super
trust
nice,
with AI.
Yeah, he seems super nice.
He deserves that 1.1 bill seed at a 5.1 bill valuation.
Yeah,
I for one am stoked to see that. There's a lot of people were quote tweeting our announcement of this with what are we doing here in terms of the seed numbers? But it's they need to know that this is the new order. People are what even is seed anymore? And I was actually thinking about
because it's not seed, is it? This is true frontier technology. This isn't just a AI agent wrapper.
It's finally something that's when drawing comparisons from US to Europe in terms of there's always a gap. Or I think we saw in the UK recently. I can't remember what town it was, but they've anointed it Tech Town because they gave it 500K. It was this is the new AI Tech Town, and the guy is bragging on the video. He's bragging, and he's this just shows this just shows how mad this is. He's bragging because they have the most Copilot certificate experts
users or something, right? Yeah.
To help the students in the world. It's dude, there's a reason for that because no one else is trying to be that.
There's a reason because all the people who know
I can't remember
about technology probably aren't using it.
On that hype. I can't remember what town it was, but it was some town in the UK. That is now the tech town of the UK, apparently. I'm sure King's Cross would probably have a.
Well, City AM actually just came out with a post today, this morning, from our friend Christian May, editor-in-chief at City AM. King's Cross puts London on the AI map. Let me just quickly read a little bit of this because there were a bunch of tweets over the weekend, and now again it kind of resurfaced about King's Cross. Obviously, we heard the news that, we broke the news. What was it, on Saturday or Sunday, that Bezos was eyeing up coming to King's Cross, which was interesting. Then Anthropic, that was I don't know, a week ago.
Yeah, that week.
I don't know. I feel every week, one or two of these huge players, hyperscalers, Zuck's going to buy a house down the road at some point, I reckon next week. You never know. But anyway, this is from Christian May, just quickly. A description of King's Cross a little over 20 years ago sounds like something from a Dickens novel. It was a place of decay and dereliction, crime and filth, known for drugs and prostitution. Some readers may remember its rave scene, but for most people, it was a no-go area. That's interesting. That opening description comes from Roger Madeline, the former chief executive of Argent, now related Argent, which drove through one of the country's most ambitious and successful regeneration schemes. Madeline speaks to the Times at the end of last year, said he was always confident that one day people would bring their children to King's Cross on a Saturday afternoon. He was right about that, but he surely couldn't have predicted that it would also become a globally important hub for one of the world's most groundbreaking and consequential sectors, artificial intelligence. And then he goes off and kind of lists all of the people moving and companies moving. OpenAI and Anthropic, two of the world's leading AI labs, have announced plans for new offices in the area, and they'll rub shoulders with the likes of autonomous car company Wave. We walk past Wave when we come to the studio. The AI video firm Synthesia, Scale AI, and of course DeepMind, an early tenant now owned by Google. Jeff Bezos' AI venture Prometheus is in talks to take nearly 40,000 square feet in King's Cross office space. Big up King's Cross.
Got that info from our tweet.
Did he?
I think so.
Yeah. He probably saw our tweet and thought,
you're welcome, sit in.
I'm going to go and do that.
I'd love to see it.
Anyway, Christian May, you're a legend.
And congratulations to Ineffable Intelligence on your 1.1 bill seed at 5.1 bill.
Indeed. Let's move on to another story. Before we do that, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Let's go. Let's ride, as they say.
So, China blocking Manus.
Oh yeah, this is super interesting. So this came out yesterday. And I was hooked. It was very interesting. So
it's a no-go for Manus.
It really is. Well, no. It was a ding, 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 ding.
It was a... but now it's suddenly... It's so loud.
Oh, really? I'm fine.
It's fine. China has blocked Meta's $2 billion purchase of AI group Manus. This is from Aryan Alim in Hong Kong, Tim Bradshaw in London, and Dmitry Sevastopoulou in Washington.
Huge. Good stuff, man.
China has ordered Meta to unwind its $2 billion acquisition of artificial intelligence app Manus as Washington and Beijing vie for dominance over the emerging technology. The decision marks an extraordinary late-stage intervention by Beijing involving two non-Chinese companies. Meta had already begun to integrate software from Manus, which was founded in China but relocated to Singapore last year. It was unclear how the acquisition could be unwound at such a late stage. It still is broadly unclear. A person briefed on Beijing's decision said the announcement could be intended primarily as a warning for similar deals in the future. With that in mind, though, yeah, it could, and it's also a deterrent for anyone who wants to maybe try and build something in China and then exit it to another country. I mean, now that sovereign, I think that before we go on, this seems to be
this is really interesting.
A stamp. I know it's China, anyways, who have some stricter, more pronounced restrictions around this stuff. It's less liberalized in this regard, but. This is a stamp, in my opinion, on the sovereignty narrative and how AI is spurring it and fueling it. For the first time in a while, now we're seeing every single nation either fully clamp down or start to seriously think about this sovereignty ideology.
Yeah, but look, what I don't get is, and we've only got 10 minutes actually, but what I don't get is when Nvidia happily selling to China, and China are happily taking US chips, right? Happily taking US compute. They're doing that, right? They're doing those deals. But if they wanted to get out of the US ecosystem, and this is a clear this was basically the reason why they cancelled this Manus deal, was because of the US ties and the fact that the two founders moved out of China purely on the basis to have a Singapore and US acquisition. And so they're doing that, and they're blocking that for those reasons to get out of the kind of US ecosystem and make a stance for that. But they're still taking chips from Nvidia happily.
Yeah,
I don't really understand that.
The Dwarkesh conversation with him was great, but I think that arose
but that's the flip side, right? Where it's if the US are going to be the most powerful within AI, why sell to China, who are the closest in terms of models and power and compute and all of that kind of stuff? And obviously Jensen Huang, with his now famous quote, says,
I did not wake up and choose to be a loser. Where it's like, why would I like forego our second biggest market? Because I'm scared that they'll overtake my first market. I feel like I'm doing a disservice if to like the US citizen if I stop selling to China. But also so the flip side is China is still happily taking those US chips.
Yeah. Well, his argument is like people gravely underestimate like how far ahead they are. It's like there's not. But also, I think they can do all this dangerous stuff already.
Well, it's the ecosystem stuff, right? Where it's like, but then obviously Dwarkesh's argument was like, well, in terms of nuclear power and all of that kind of stuff, like we're not giving anyone uranium. So like, why would we? Why
he was saying to Jensen, the uranium quote was, he was saying to Jensen, you are giving them uranium using the AI.
Yeah. And he was like, that's just like so wrong.
Yeah, it's like as powerful as a nuclear.
Yeah, because he was like, it's fine, I'm giving them chips, but like they're using our developer ecosystem. They're using everything else that we've built around the physical chips, right? It's not just the chips. That's like very. I mean, we're doing a BTEC Jensen Huang Dwarkesh rundown. Maybe if you want to get the full story, maybe just listen to the podcast. But that was basically just the flip side, right? So.
But his whole thing is like we need to be speaking with them more, opening dialogue, having these conversations, which is completely true. Like
exactly.
If you use like
we're not a car.
The example is that was a good impression actually. That was really good. Nice. If you use like the comparison, which a lot of people do, is like the Oppenheimer stuff with the nuclear bomb. Like something that they had to do at the time was they wanted to open up dialogue between every single person working on it, because if you don't have the dialogue, you don't have the communication, then you start to act irrationally because you're making assumptions. If I don't do this, then they won't do that. Then game theory starts to come into play. So like Jensen's whole argument for opening up lines of communication and dialogue, I think, is a great thing. Here, this is definitely too harsh. Like Manus, I've used it before. It's not world-ending technology. It's just an agent that doesn't really work, to be quite frank. Like it's not. It's not like a frontier agentic tool.
So now this opens up, like, whether they have...
It's more of a statement, right?
Yeah. It is a statement. It is like, hey, like, we want to be separate from the US. We're not going to open the opportunity for our entrepreneurs to go and do exactly what the Manus guys did. It's already happened with TikTok. We don't want it to happen. And then it happened with Manus, and it's like... It's kind of opening these floodgates of like, oh, entrepreneurs now think that they can go and do this. Mm-hmm. No, we're going to shut this down, and we're going to kind of like put a stand and stamp on the fact that you cannot go and do that, because it's almost like brain draining China. But then again, you've also now got Chinese entrepreneurs thinking, hold on, if I start my company in China, I have no opportunity to exit to the big players, and most of the big players are in the US.
Who buy? Yeah, there's no.
And so you're going to see potentially, I would say, like an exodus from China of like these kind of frontier entrepreneurs. And so it's kind of done this for the Manus deal in terms of like it's given a threat to entrepreneurs, but it's going to swing too far one way, right?
It has to backfire. But what do Meta do with the deal now, right? Like, do they go and find, like, do they have to pass it off to a new buyer, the deal? But now all of a sudden this happened 6 months ago, so now everything's as good as Manus, if not better.
Exactly. I don't understand, right? So I did a bit of digging, like how can you actually block a sale like this? Because Manus was already being used in Meta products. Obviously it was fully like Meta branded, all of that kind of stuff, right? But it was integrated. Sales had been done. I assume employees had been given options / had been kind of remunerated for it.
Celebrating. They will have had their payout would have been so fat.
Yeah. It was fat. It was what, $2 billion, right?
The team was around like 150 maybe, I think. 150 to 200 people.
So how can they block the sale, right? Two reasons that I thought were probably the most why can China do it? So Beijing branded the acquisition as a conspirational attempt to drain China's domestic technology base. Because the core algorithms and the company itself were birthed in China, regulators argue the DNA of the company remains subject to Chinese oversight. So that was like one of the arguments. Second argument was, and we reported this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the founders were blocked physically. So to enforce its review, China obviously utilized the exit bans in March 2026 to prevent 2 of Manus's co-founders from leaving the country. This physical leverage over key personnel allowed authorities to maintain pressure on companies during the investigation. And now, it's going to do basically the NDRC has now demanded like a full unwinding of everything that they've done, including returning of all funds, re-registering ownership, halting Meta's use of Manus's algorithms.
They just got it
basically a big mess. It's kind of mental that's happened. Well, obviously, it's massive news.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen a flip of a private company deal like that before.
Yeah, no, I think it's unprecedented.
Anywhere close to $2 billion. But anyway, Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Next on the show, I believe Simon is in the house.
Let's bring Simon. Is Simon in? We got him in. We do. Simon, welcome to the European Technology Network.
Hi, Luke and Ronan. Pleasure to be on. Great to meet you both.
Yeah, you too. Where do we start? Firstly, congrats on the launch, Latent Y. The video you dropped was really cool, by the way. I really liked it. The graphics were amazing. Loads of questions about that. Maybe beforehand, if you want to introduce yourself as well, and also your background, because you've done some incredible stuff before this as well.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you very much for having me again. So yeah, I'm Simon Kohl, founder and CEO of Latent Labs. We've been going since about 3 years, headquartered in London, but also have a site in San Francisco. We build frontier AI models for drug design, so really generative molecular models. But then you were alluding to it, our latest launch, Latent Y, was an agent that uses these models and can really go end to end from a prompt to antibody design that works in the lab. And then before then, I was actually at Google DeepMind here in London, where I was a research scientist, so really working on AI as a scientist there. And I was a part of the AlphaFold 2 team that, of course, earned Demis and John and also David Baker a Nobel Prize in chemistry not too long ago. And then after that, I started in co-led the protein design team at DeepMind.
So cool. Like so fascinating. It's clear that the origins of what you're doing now were probably born within your experience around these people and what you were doing over at DeepMind. Can you maybe just talk to us a little bit about what was that time like when you guys were working on AlphaFold, right? It was one of the most insane breakthroughs scientifically of the modern era. What was that experience like? What are some of the things that challenged you and you were excited about when you were there? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really formative for me, I think. The problem itself, protein structure prediction, has been one that's been sort of worked on for literally decades. There was this fantastic challenge called CASP, where people every 2 years assessed blindly against held out structures. And sort of essentially every group working on this in the world participated. And, there's been progress over the years, but largely speaking, no one ever, up until then, was able to predict structures that rivaled experiments. And so it was sort of, middling performance, let's say, for even decades in a way. And so we set out to, solve that problem, really rival experiment. And it was daunting in many ways to take on a task like that. And we just, really took a very, of course, it being DeepMind, AI first approach to it. We, over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, ascended a computational leaderboard and, just chipped away at it. And it was just a fantastic team to be a part of, like really world-class people on that. And I think in the end, lots of stories to be told and sort of, lots of sweat there as well getting there. But in the end, worked out. And, we won that competition by a large margin. And really, in the end, the organizers deemed this problem to be essentially solved, at least for single chain protein structure prediction.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so cool, man. And sorry, go on.
I was going to ask about speed. I'm super interested in your philosophy around speed, and you work in an industry that is normally very slow, and there's reasons for that to make sure everything is safe. But can you talk to us about kind of what Latent Y allows researchers and people working in the industry to kind of accelerate their work, because it's super interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's at the core of what we're building at the company at Latent Labs. Really, if you think about drug development, there's of course the clinical trials that come at the end, where we're testing whether these drugs work in humans and they're effective and they're sort of non-toxic and all these things you want from a drug. But before you even get there, you have to find, at least classically speaking, they were found, find molecules that work on the targets, on the diseases that you care, and they cure. And it's this first part of the drug discovery pipeline that we're addressing at Latent Labs. So really going from scratch, our philosophy is what people call de novo. We design molecules that haven't existed before. Of course, there's sort of a particular format that lends itself to be a drug, for instance, antibodies. However, we can essentially go after any target that anyone gives us in this space and do it from scratch. And now what's exciting about that is that classically that is done literally by immunizing animals. So people literally harvest antibodies from llamas and sharks even. And so that is, of course, as you might imagine, a very involved process. And we can shrink these timelines by a lot. So typical antibody discovery timelines, they exceed a year, often 2 years, and until you've managed them to get just drug-like, that can be lengthy. We can shrink that down sort of really significantly, and we've seen it come down to as little as a month. And of course, there's a lot of nuance in all of that, but now, especially with the agents, that goes even faster. And I think what's exciting is that together with a drug design expert using the agent, you can compress that again from a couple of weeks normally computational work down to hours. And of course, what that promises is even larger scale.
Yeah. Okay, and talk to us about like making like biology programmable, right? That's like kind of, I guess, the overarching thing. Can you explain like how hard that problem is to solve, and what does the like next 10 years look like for biology as it becomes more kind of programmable?
Yeah, at Latent Labs, what that means for us is essentially this very idea of making drug design an AI discipline, and essentially controlling every aspect of these molecules computationally. So putting this entire workflow I just briefly sketched into the computer. And that's what we mean by, in this case, making biology programmable. And we're making really significant steps towards that. So, as I touched on, when someone gives us a problem in this space, like a drug target to address, we can typically now make antibodies from scratch that specifically bind it, engage it, and have a chance to be a drug. And then on top of that, we've shown that our molecules often already do meet certain drug-likeness criteria that people want to see when they advance these molecules towards the clinic. And so that's what we mean when we say making it programmable. And I think the field is moving so fast. Literally 12 months ago at Latent Labs and also the field in general, we did not have this capability of designing antibodies from scratch. And now that's sort of here. Of course, there's still improvements to be had, but it's broadly speaking here. And on top of that, we've built agents that steer that. So the progress is tremendous, and I think that's what's so exciting in this space right now.
With like the comparisons, right? Like you previously, you were understanding how proteins fold, right? If I'm 100% correct, and then now you're designing them from scratch. How much of a shift is that sounds insane, like the comparison between the two, but like how different is this?
Yeah, it's of course related, but it is quite different. So, I sometimes like to describe AlphaFold as this fantastic AI microscope that lets you see existing proteins incredibly fast. Of course, just an inference call away, when it otherwise would have taken months to sometimes unsolvable experimental structure determination. And so, as opposed to that, we are in the business, if you will, of making drugs from scratch, and that's quite different. We go beyond what we find in nature. And so what we're doing is we're really modeling it at an atomic level with our models right now. We learn from data how to generalize these interactions, and that's something that's quite different. It's really a generative AI system that we've built, as opposed to AlphaFold, which is, you know, in machine learning speak, more of a deterministic AI system.
Mm-hmm. This is fascinating stuff. This might sound like a weird question, but and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but like if we were to fast forward, you know, 5 years, is there like a medicine or a material that can exist in the world that couldn't previously because of you guys? And like, do you have any idea what those type of things could be?
Yeah, I think so. You know, sort of how we're going about things at Latent Labs is we're building an AI drug design platform. And so from a business model perspective, we partner widely and we enable pharma companies and biotech companies to use that technology. And so what we really want to see, and we're starting to see the early innings of that, is our partners making amazing medicines with that haven't existed before, and faster and at larger scale. And so I do truly believe we should be seeing much more widely accessible antibodies, peptides, modalities like that for sort of previously inaccessible targets. We got some pretty exciting results with our partners who have made, and that goes potentially too deep for this podcast, but have made sort of previously unattainable inhibitors to ion channels, pretty hard targets. Normally people use in this space literally tarantula venoms to address them. And so we're now at a stage where we can make that from scratch. And I think that's only going to get stronger. We're going to have more as an industry, as a ecosystem, have many more of these examples coming up in the next months and years.
And those processes, like you've mentioned, like tarantula venom, you've mentioned like getting it from sharks. Like, is the process literally like biologists will go out, find these animals, sedate them, bring them back, or take like a testing molecule or something from them, and then use that? Like that, they have to go and, is that right? Like,
in part, that's true. There's of course other techniques, and there definitely has been rational engineering around for decades as well. But broadly speaking, yes, immunization techniques are still very successful. So and widely used. So antibodies, they are molecules that our immune system makes. And in diseases, it just so happens that our own immune system cannot make antibodies that see the disease. And so what you want to do here, or what people are doing, is they essentially raise, it's called antibodies in animal models. So basically immunize them with a inactive version of the disease, then harvest blood from these animals after the immune system was able to react and produce antibodies. Then you isolate those, sequence those, and voila, you have a starting point for an antibody that you can then engineer to work in a human. But all of that is very involved, and so we make it push button. Literally it takes sometimes minutes, sometimes hours to make antibodies with our systems, AI systems, when we have the correct target.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on the partners that you work with and the way that they're thinking about this, right? So, what does it look like in terms of a business case for them if they're able to kind of use this design platform in their kind of day-to-day work? What does it look like for their businesses in the next like 5 to 10 years when they're able to design these things with Latent Labs?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, part of that I'll answer by, extrapolating from where we are. But I do think it'll be really push button where, when we make a molecule in the future, those molecules will not just be binders, but they'll be actual drugs that, perhaps 9 out of 10 of them would qualify as such, and you could immediately put into a trial. That would be the dream. And I do think we'll get there. And so when that future comes to pass, I do think, the drug discovery industry will look very, very different. I think we'll be able to go after many more targets simultaneously. The focus will become probably more on both up and downstream parts of the drug discovery process, by which I mean identifying the correct biology pathways that associate with disease to go after, and then rapidly making molecules that can be curative. And then further upstream, in my analogy. I think they'll be able to really double down on the correct clinical trials, picking the right populations, getting that through. And so I think our technology will essentially govern everything in between, the sort of making of the molecule in a very tailored way. And I think there's many things beyond that. Of course, for decades, people have talked about personalized medicines. I think that'll be something that'll be enabled here. And really, it's kind of boundless, the kind of things you want to design in this space, and we can do this rapidly.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about personal kind of, I guess, drug discovery and making your own drugs. But is that ever going to be a thing, do you think? We saw, what was it, maybe like 2 months ago, that guy that saved his dog from cancer. That kind of opened up that question and that conversation for, can you just rely on LLMs to be able to solve these problems? Is that ever a thing? We've had a few conversations around it.
Yeah, I think from a technical perspective, I would expect very much yes. I don't think there's a problem there. However, I think the gating step will be essentially approvals by regulators. So unless we get to a way of on that personalized level, approving molecules, I think it'll be, sort of gate capped. But from a technical perspective, I think very possible.
That's cool. So we maybe should have asked at the start, but I'd love to get a sense of we've got 1 minute left, so we can fit it in. But what was the decision for the founding story here? What was the moment where you were like, okay, this needs to go and happen, and I'm going to be the one to make it happen?
Yeah, so having worked on AlphaFold and on protein design at DeepMind, I very much saw where this was headed. It was the early innings back then, but it was clear to me, extrapolating, that the impact would be tremendous. And if we sort of really put all of our efforts and momentum behind this, we could make this a reality much faster. And so I was really keen on running this at incredible speed, and then also building a platform around it. I think I was convinced that, really enabling the industry with that platform, rather than everyone there having to build from scratch and thereby slowing down, was the right way of doing it. And I saw that being, best done in a startup. And so that was that. But really look back very fondly at my time there. Like I said, it was formative years. I think DeepMind, of course, is an amazing company. And so, I did end up taking that step. And I do think we were very successful in these early goals. We, over the course of the last 9 months, had 3 model launches. So, we can be really nimble in this startup setting.
That's awesome. Dude, so cool.
Yeah. Great to meet you, man. It's so interesting.
Yeah, thanks
we'll have to have you back on.
for coming on. Welcome back anytime.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Great to chat to you today.
Always. Congrats again. Cheers, man. Bye. Thanks.
Awesome stuff. We have Sean on the show in a sec, but before we do that, the infrastructure for the on-chain world, go to base.org. Here we go.
Founder and CEO of Seapoint coming onto the show right now. Sean, can you hear us?
Yeah, hey guys, great to join you today.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Sean. We've been waiting for this for a while. Why don't we start with a brief introduction on you? I was doing it earlier on the show when we were going over the lineup, and I realized last night when we were doing our research, you've been in the trenches before Stripe, before Algolia. You founded a couple other startups as well, helped co-found. So we'd love to just get a intro on you and your background, and then we can go into Seapoint as well.
Sure. No, it's great to join you. I mean, fun fact, Seapoint was actually the first sponsor of ETN.
Yes.
You remember
the first
before your rebrand.
Backer, before the rebrand, before our rebrand. The very first one, and we mentioned that today on the show,
and
which
we appreciate it.
In part of the reason why we've been so excited to speak to you.
Yeah, well, we believe in what you guys are doing. My background, look, I had 3 startups in my 20s, just after the dot-com crash back in the days before venture capital, accelerators, all of those kind of things, based in London. We had a mobile app gaming startup and a mobile IoT startup, but I spent 10 years basically in the trenches, kind of with startups being bootstrapped, and really understood the importance of financial clarity when you're running a business, particularly when you don't have a lot of venture capital behind you. So really this kind of idea about Seapoint stuck with me when I was in my 20s, that there should be some kind of tools an infrastructure for founders to be able to run a business with limited capital.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about you being back in the trenches. You guys have raised some money. Could you maybe tell us a bit more about the investors, any strategic angels you've got on board, the amount as well? Would be awesome.
So we raised a pre-seed round that we announced back in September with Frontline Ventures leading. And we just recently last week announced our seed round, which is $7.5 million with 13 books leading the round. And we had all of our existing investors come back, but I'm actually most proud about the fact that we have a network of 40 founders and operators in Europe who have backed us as angels that have been really instrumental in helping us get the word out about Seapoint, who really believe in our mission.
Mm-hmm. That's
so awesome.
And what's happened between each raise, right? What's the what's the progress looking like? I can imagine growth is really skyrocketing right now. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, well, so look, we spent a bunch of time in private beta, about a year, because we really wanted to get the product into a stage where founders were really being successful and really focused on the craft of the product. So we had like 80 startups who've helped us. They've been phenomenal. They really want this product to exist, and they've given us tons of feedback. And last week we were in a position where we felt that the product was ready for self-serve and for every company in the UK and Ireland to be able to sign up. Go to our website and you can create an account. So really, a lot of the work that we've done over the last year is just working with early customers to make sure that the product is really well designed and easy to use.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think I read somewhere like the amount of design partners you guys had before coming. It was something like
80, right?
80, yeah. We have 80 startups who've been using us.
That's insane. Like, because that's a substantial more amount than we, well, that's the most that we've ever heard on the show in terms of that pre-prep. Why is that? Like, because I mean, typical narratives might be around, let's just get this thing out there and just see what it is, and then we'll go backwards from there, and then we'll iterate, and then we'll come back and then we'll. So talk to us a little about that, because it's slightly contrarian.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of the team, we came from Stripe, and we really believed in the craft of a product and being able to design it. And so my goal was we didn't want to open it up into the public and really start expanding until we'd really made these kind of early customers successful. And so the feedback that they gave us every week, I mean, founders are great. They'll give you tons of product feedback. And so we just really wanted to focus on making the product successful for them before we open the floodgates and let everyone in.
Nice. And let's talk a bit more about the product. I think I saw a quote of yours that mentioned founders are essentially tired of stitching together a bunch of different stuff. So can you paint the picture of what is that problem? How big is it? How annoying is it? And how are we solving it today?
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken to over 100 founders at this stage, and all of them have the same painful story, which is they're going out and they're signing up to legacy banks, neobanks, FX providers, card processors, spend management apps. They have accountants trying to stitch this all together, but it's really a fragmented and kind of duct taped together financial stack. And it means they don't have clarity on where their money is going. They don't understand what they're spending on. And they can't really get the efficiencies that they need to be able to make their runway last. So we really wanted to build something where in 10 minutes, you could come connect all of your existing banks, connect your email, connect your accounting systems, and see a full picture of your business. And then automate all of those workflows, whether it's expense management or running payroll or investor reporting, cash flow reporting. All of that comes out of the box with a kind of AI native implementation. But most importantly, we have great default embedded financial products. You can open a business account, you can get team cards, you can get a treasury account with us, FX, everything you need to run your business, from automation to financial products, in one place.
Yeah. And you mentioned AI native, I think that this is changing, that word is changing every sort of 3 or 4 months, just based off the pace that the industry is seeing. What would it be like an AI native sort of financial OS in 2026? What does that look like? Is this maybe agentic focused? Is there agents within the platform helping you out? What does that what does that entail?
Yeah, I mean, look, to start with, all these different systems that you have, whether it's your external banks, your accounting software, your email, there's just so much manual work involved. And a lot of it is basic, is taking all your bank transactions and matching them to your invoices, or taking your bank transactions and figuring out what vendors they are, what categories they belong in. This is all stuff that is entirely automatable at the moment. And one of the kind of premises of Seapoint is now's the time to build an AI native finance stack. given the capabilities that we now have. And it's been pretty exciting on the team to see, just how far in a year we've come in terms of using first principles of AI to automate these tasks for founders.
That's huge.
And you just recently announced the round. What's the plan with the money? I assume kind of hiring a lot of people and kind of building more of this stack out to help founders as you've just kind of launched open into the whole market. Can you talk to us a little bit about the strategy of the financing?
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is about product. There's so many financial problems to solve, and we've got like so many different ideas we want to build into the product and refine it. So we'll be doing a lot of product launches. Joining Seapoint today, you're going to be joining a very fast-moving product over the next 12 months. But also, we believe deeply in relationship management. So startup founders that join Seapoint, we get to know them. We have customer success teams. And folks who really understand startups and can help in many different ways. So we spend a lot of time actually just talking with our customers and being there to support them in real life. It's not a chat bot. We don't automate the relationship away. So we'll definitely be expanding the customer support and relationship management. So you can always talk to a human who understands startups.
Nice. And a question around kind of going back a little bit to the conversations you've been having in sort of around the beta behind closed doors with these individuals. We had Eleanor Crespo, the CEO of Pigment, my old boss actually, on the show a few weeks ago. And it was funny because I was explaining that the shift in terms of these sort of AI native financial operating systems are the more in-demand things right now, but maybe go back 4 years ago, some of these senior like FP&A leaders or just general sort of people who come from a financial background were a little bit standoffish around AI and letting it into a space that would typically be like relatively regulated or do I want to give my agent access to this type of thing? You've got a computer science background. You've been at some of the largest institutions around finance on Earth. Can you maybe just talk to a little bit about that transformative shift that we've seen over the last couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of talk at the moment about giving agents money or access to your money to move around. And I think we're still way off from that. So what we do at Seapoint is we automate a lot of the manual processes, but you're always in control of financial money movement. So you're not giving your agent the keys to your bank account and letting them move money on your behalf. We're just trying to make it a lot easier for all of the admin, bureaucracy, and everything around running a startup, and giving you a single place that you can manage it all from. But that does involve agents. I mean, we have agents that are working on bookkeeping and invoice reconciliation and lining up your payments and organizing them for you. But you as the kind of founder and your finance team are always in control of actually executing and managing that money.
Yeah. You mentioned this, agents sort of. It's a conversation that's come up a bunch on the show, but here's my agent now has a bank account. It can go and spend. It can spend or trade with other agents. Like, is that a realm that you've explored at all? Is it do you have any thoughts on what that? I guess it's kind of an emerging market, but it's not really.
Yeah. Do you see like the future being like agent to agent? One Seapoint account, one Seapoint account, both run by agents.
Well, look, I mean, I think with things like money, you really need to have humans in control as well. So I think we're a ways off until we're trusting our agents to go and transact on our behalf all the time. And we try to meet founders where their problems are today. And these just aren't problems that founders are coming to us with right now and saying, we need our agents to move money for us. Similarly, like with crypto, there are a bunch of companies that have come up with crypto native SME solutions. None of the founders we talk to are looking for, stablecoin solutions at the moment. So we tend to kind of follow the problems where the founders are. And maybe in a few years, these will be kind of areas where founders are really looking for solutions. But at the moment, it's remarkably basic, the amount of admin and work that you have to do to run finances. And we're here to solve that problem today.
Yeah, really cool. Question for you, why get back in the trenches? You've experienced the the pain that it comes with in the past. There must be something internally within you that is drawn to it. I'd love to know why.
Yeah. Well, listen, once you've been a founder, you're always a founder. And I think right now it's the best time in the world to ever be a founder. I mean, the amount of problems in the world that can be rethought and redesigned and 10 times better solutions delivered with AI capabilities, and the speed at which you can move now as a business to build product. is just exceptional. So I'm really excited about getting back into the game at this point. And I think every founder I meet is the same. You know, there's just so much opportunity right now for new businesses and for entrepreneurs and startups. And, you know, Europe is ground zero. There's like 35,000 startups in Europe, more than any other region, 50 billion in venture capital going in it. So, you know, the founder and startup scene in Europe is exploding at the moment. And it's exciting to be back in the game.
Let's go. I wanted to quickly ask, we've got 2 minutes left, about the way that you're approaching kind of go-to-market, right? You're saying, you know, there's so many companies being started, and it is the best time to go and build. That means that, you know, for a company like Seapoint, it opens opportunities for a wider market, kind of, you know, everywhere really, right? How do you see go-to-market, and where do you see like the biggest opportunity for you guys is?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many products launching at the moment. It's hard to cut through the noise. So, you know, our strategy has always been to be like really founder first. So to invest in the founder community, to develop founder relationships, to deliver the best product. You know, when you have a product that's 10 times better, founders have a very small network. And that's why we spent so long in private beta, because we knew that if the product was so good, that other founders are going to tell the founders, the accountants are going to tell their companies. And so that kind of like word of mouth and referral network is one of the most powerful you can get. And it's really one that we're hoping to invest in, and really invest more into the founder community as well.
Yeah. Just coming up towards the end, where can we send people? Like, what's coming up right now that you guys are most excited about? Any more? I mean, obviously announce the raise, which is one thing, but yeah, what's on the horizon? What are we looking forward to?
Good. Well, I mean, anyone can sign up on the website today, which is great. But one of the areas we're investing a lot in is in kind of AI agents and MCP support, so that you can bring all your financial information, whether it's from your Seapoint account or your external bank accounts, into your actual LLMs where they are, whether that's Claude or ChatGPT. So a lot of people are trying to automate every function using APIs and agents. And so I think Seapoint will be one of the really like the first kind of place where you can actually get access to live financial data and be able to give them to your agents to be able to get work done wherever you are, whether it's in Seapoint or in Claude or ChatGPT.
Nice. Awesome stuff. Sean, yeah, we are at time, but thank you. Great. It's been a long time coming.
Thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, and it's great.
No. It's our absolute pleasure. Welcome back anytime. When you guys are ringing that IPO bell on the NASDAQ, we'll do it again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Congrats on everything as well. Really, really good stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers, Sean. Have a good one.
Awesome stuff. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Next on the show, we have Daniel at Whatnot.
This is going to be such a sick conversation.
I love this topic. This has been cool topic.
I've been seeing this blow up in Asia first. I wasn't aware we had some sort of like European/US like dominant player
in some of the offices that we walk in, right? Where it's like co-working offices. Yeah, you can see live shopping like studios, right? Super interesting. Anyway, Daniel Fisher is, I think, in the studio. Daniel, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
Yes, sir. How's it going?
I'm well, thanks. Did I gate crash your last interview and just pop up? If so, that's incredibly embarrassing.
Happens all the time. No one can see it.
We need a waiting room.
Only we can see it. So like the stream doesn't see, no one can see. It's all good.
Yeah, it was like being invited to a party but then turning up early. That's good.
We closed the door on you.
Sorry for kicking you, but yeah. But welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on. Do you want to maybe just introduce yourself and also Whatnot as well, just for the viewers, and then we got a bunch of questions because this is such a fascinating emerging market.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I'm Daniel. I am the head of categories and expansion, which is a bit of a mouthful, for Whatnot in Europe. I was very lucky to launch the UK business just over 3 years ago. So for those of you who don't know, which, it's a fast emerging space. So maybe I'll start with what live is very quickly. So at its core, live e-commerce is essentially taking e-commerce and making it something highly interactive. So instead of scrolling, static listings in a marketplace, you're watching a real person with real products. It's very tactile. You're asking questions in real time to that host, and then you're buying instantly from that host. Importantly, you're also able to interact with other buyers in that environment. So it's essentially a combination of e-commerce and entertainment, and we have something like 2 million of hours of lives being watched every single week. Whatnot is the largest live shopping app in the US and Europe. Just checked again this morning in the UK. I think we're the number 1 or number 2 free shopping app in the UK. And essentially, we enable shoppers to interact with sellers and other buyers live through a variety of formats: auctions, buy it nows, flash sales, all sorts of things.
I want to ask you a quick question where you mentioned that you kind of helped set up the UK business, I think 3 years ago. I imagine this is like how long has Whatnot been around? When was it founded?
Yeah, so Whatnot's probably coming up to about 7 years old, so it's still a pretty young business.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like older than I would think, right? It's an emerging market. What was the the first few years, especially maybe in the UK? You've got that experience to talk about it, because even 3 years ago, this kind of stuff I feel was way ahead of its time. Right now is the time when we're on a live show. Right, live is becoming this thing. Can you talk to us about how the market's changed over the last 3 years specifically?
Sure. It's been a rapid growth, and I think people within our first categories in Europe. So we started off very much with collectibles. So toys and hobbies, trading cards, Pokemon cards was a big first category for us. And now we're in many, many, many categories. Fashion's our fastest growing. Yeah. But when we started, there were some people that were already buying from the US who were very familiar with Whatnot, because Whatnot's the fastest growing marketplace in the US of all time. So I think there was quite a lot of traction there already. But we've seen that trajectory really follow in Europe. So to give you some idea of the way in which it sort of developed. So the UK it's our most mature market, but year on year, our first time buyers is up something like 400%. And already this year, 80%, just under 80% of sellers are planning to increase their live selling through the rest of this year. And we're in April, and I think we've probably matched the GMV we did in 2025. And to give some sense of scale, globally, we did about $8 billion worth of GMV in 2025. That was double what we did in 2024, roughly. So it gives a sense of sort of how quickly this is growing.
That's insane. But what I'm trying to work out in my head is that this is essentially. So I watched. There's a Louis Theroux documentary a while back on the tele shopping ecosystem, right? And these guys are essentially they're selling one particular product on a live. I'm pretty sure it's live. Or no, it might be pre-programmed, or I'm pretty sure it's live, and they're probably live for about 10 minutes. And they're selling singular items. I think some of the most popular ones were they're salad choppers and all these sort of small gadgets that they have. And I'm realizing that this is just it's a whole industry that's been reimagined and dropped into the world of, I guess, short form, fast, quick, essentially meeting the consumers where they have gone, basically, right? And the numbers on that were insane for how much they were moving. But how much are some of these people making that are selling these stuff? How much are some of these companies making?
Sure. So people have really turned this into real businesses. And I guess to go back to your point about how much it's grown, I personally onboarded some of those first sellers in the UK 3 years ago. Many of those sellers are now turning over many millions of pounds a year. Daily sellers on average are making about £30,000 a month. So that's an average across a lot of sellers. And live selling accounts for roughly 2/3 of their total sales. And the number of sellers we have that are earning over $1 million in lifetime sales has more than doubled since 2025. So these are very real businesses. People are hiring people, creating jobs. Over 50% of our sellers now have six or more person teams for their operations just for live selling. And I think, I caught in the intro, you're seeing people do sort of live setups in their stores. It's a big trend that we're seeing as the high street becomes more and more challenged. What we're seeing is a lot of like bricks and mortar stores and boutiques. James Lakeland's an interesting example. James Lakeland's a store that's been around for a long time, women's fashion. James has live shopping operations in all of his stores, including his Marloo store, where in downtime or just during the day when there's less footfall, they are going live and they're selling roughly 10 times the volume in a live environment in the same amount of time that they would do on a static marketplace or through the website.
Yeah,
I was going to ask how much of the market or how much of your customers that are being onboarded now are existing retailers, whether they're brick and mortar or even like people who run their own kind of clothing brand or whatever. How much of those people are coming, or just a market who, I don't know, they like me, right? I don't own a clothing brand, I don't own anything like that, but I think, oh, this is a cool opportunity. Let me go and see and kind of jump on this trend type thing. How much of the onboarding of customers is those two kind of groups?
It's a real mix. But what I would say is the beauty of live, one of the beauties of live is how much you can sell in a live versus a static environment. As I said, people on live are selling roughly 10 times more on live versus a static sort of marketplace environment that's driven by search because it's a discovery experience. So you need stock in order to do, in order to build a good live business. And so it generally lends itself to people that are able to obtain stock, people that already have stock. They may be selling, online already. They might have bricks and mortar operations, but generally it lends itself to that and building a direct relationship with that customer versus like a one-off, a one-off purchase or a one-off sale.
And then you've got those kind of multi-billion-dollar brands. Are they paying like an agency type thing to kind of do this, or are they doing this all in house? Like, would I don't know, a Huel have an agency go and do this live selling format, or would they go and bring all of this in house and have their own, I guess, studio to go and do this in their office? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. We've really seen a trend of people doing it in the best way possible, of people that do it in-house because it's authentic. They know their products. And essentially, this is a great way to really connect directly with consumers because you're talking directly to them. So you know exactly what they want. So in our experience, if we look at sellers like, there's a watch seller called Invicta, one of the biggest fashion watch manufacturers in the world. They're doing all of this in-house across the US and Europe. And they're moving a large chunk of their operation into Whatnot and live selling. And they're doing that directly because they have a direct relationship with the audience. They know exactly what their stock looks like. They know exactly how to talk about their stock. And I think that level of authenticity is actually important for live because people want to talk to the person selling and the maven. We see the same with an example that Zavvi, they're one of the biggest toy sellers, big website, also do a lot via live and on Whatnot now. And they're doing that in-house.
It's insane. And what's this growth journey been like being a part of that? Like, what are some of the earlier days compared to now? Like, how have things changed? Because the trajectory and the numbers that you guys are putting up are insane.
Yeah, I've never experienced anything like it. I think probably a lot of people at Whatnot have never experienced anything like it because not many businesses grow this
numbers
quickly.
Just keep going up.
So it's been an incredible ride. I think the most fulfilling thing is to see sellers build very real businesses and deliver for our users in that way, and that's very, very fulfilling. Something like 25% of our UK sellers are now renting additional office space. And like 15% at least are employing at least one person for their operations. And when you hear those stories, or you hear about a bricks and mortar store being able to stay open because they're supporting it through live selling, those are the bits that we sort of tend to focus on more than the charts going up, although that's good for the ego, but we want to see people build real sustainable businesses here, and that's what we're seeing so far.
Yeah, sure. And then what is the kind of 10-year trajectory of Whatnot as a business, but then also like the market? Where do you see this kind of stuff going? Because we are still very early, I think, in this, and you mentioned that it's an emerging market. Can you talk to us about what this market, what does the next 10 years look like?
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long way out. If only I could predict 10 years, because three's a lot's happened. But yeah, live in the US and Europe is already a $22 billion market, and Whatnot occupies something like 60% of that market. So we want to make sure that we stay at the forefront as a pure play live shopping product, and that's what we do. This market's projected to be trillions by 2030, which isn't, it's a bit less than your 10-year horizon. Yeah. But we see this genuinely, and we believe that our sellers and buyers see this genuinely as the next iteration of e-commerce, because it makes sense, because e-commerce have been looking for years and years, since the dawn of the internet, for a way to find more personal connections between buyers and sellers and replicate that in-store experience. And this is what that does. So, we only see it going one way. The numbers tell the same thing. It's hugely engaging. I think an average user time on Whatnot is something like 95 minutes a day. And if you compare that to Netflix, which is a long-form content platform, they're on 120 minutes a day or something. So we only see this going one way. We want to build, very, very sustainable businesses, and we believe that live is the future of e-commerce.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So cool.
Just 30 seconds left till we have our next guest on. Where can we send people? What anything you guys have got coming up that you're looking forward to? How can we help?
So much. Thanks. I mean, you download the app, have a look, go into some shows, find the things that you enjoy buying, and speak to buyers, speak to sellers. We've got something called the Whatnot Card Show coming up, which is the world's largest trading card show. There'll be awesome. Millions of buyers on that. That's coming up very shortly. So that's always a super fun event, and it's like a convention on your phone. So it's going to be amazing.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for spending the time. And yeah, keep us updated. Super interesting.
Great. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Good stuff. Great to meet you. Before we have our next guest on, leave updated business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Now we have Louis Mosley joining the studio. I believe he's in the studio. Can you hear us?
Welcome to the show. Amazing. Firstly, how are you? How's the day going?
Good. Thanks. You guys?
Yeah, we're doing well.
We've
been seeing you all over the internet recently.
We've been posting you all over the internet, actually.
Oh, yeah. What did you think of the hype reel?
Very flattering. Thank you. I thought it was a great video you guys made.
Awesome. It was our first one we've done, actually. There's going to be more to come.
There will be.
But maybe for the viewers at home, for the listeners, do you want to just give a brief introduction on yourself, your role at Palantir, and we can go from there. We've got a lot to dig into.
Super. Well, yeah. So I run Palantir's business in the UK and in Europe. So that actually covers all the work we do in those geographies, both on the public sector side, so for governments, but also private sector. So with big, large corporations, that's basically our customer base, large complex organizations of different kinds.
Awesome. I think there's a backbone of this conversation today that we would like to focus on, and it's something that's making the headlines at the moment, and it's the relationship with Palantir and the NHS here in the UK. So maybe I thought it would be best if could you sort of give us like a chronological description of how has it started? Like I know it was sort of a connection made during the COVID times. You guys were helping out during a time of a global crisis, and how that's evolved, through the federated data platform, and then the conversations today, kind of ending in like some of the public saying, can we put a break clause on this thing in 2027? So yeah, maybe from you, just to hear the whole chronological order would be amazing.
Yeah, I'd love to tell you the long version of the story, but I'll try and keep it as short as possible. So Palantir, as you no doubt know, is actually been around for about 20 years. For most of that 20 years, we worked almost exclusively in the intelligence and military domains for government. And our work in healthcare is much more recent. And as you said, it really begins with COVID. So in the UK, you go back to March 2020, the pandemic is really beginning to hit. The severity of it, the enormity of what we were all facing is becoming apparent. And the NHS was really beginning to collapse under that pressure. They were struggling to identify the number of COVID patients, how fast the pandemic was spreading, how many hospital beds were available. You may remember Northern Italy was the first European healthcare system to collapse under the pressure. And there was lots of concern about which bit of Britain was going to go first. And so we were brought in based on the experience that we had, and I guess the credibility that we built on the military side, to then come and help tackle the pandemic. So the first thing we did was actually help the government get that picture of what was going on. We then got pulled into a whole series of other things that more or less track the headlines that you'll remember. So the next crisis was ventilators. Did we have enough of them? Which hospitals had them? If we made more, where would you send them? Then it was PPE, personal protective equipment. Do we have enough masks, gloves? We were going to run out. And then into the autumn of 2020, it became about vaccines. As the vaccine became available, how do you roll it out? How do you get into people's arms as quickly as possible? And we became the operating system for all of that. That built a lot of confidence, I think, in the NHS about the software. It was software that just worked. It did what we said it was going to do, and it always delivered. It always stepped up. And so off the back of that, they commissioned us for 2 years to continue effectively that work that we've been doing during COVID. What we also started doing in parallel, which is what led to the federated data platform, was to begin working with some of the individual trusts. And the challenge that they had was what they called the elective backlog. So that's to say, lots and lots of operations which were cancelled during COVID. Anything that wasn't an emergency, like a hip replacement or getting your knee done, you just got told, sorry, COVID cancelled, we'll get round to you. And so what that meant was millions and millions of people effectively got backed up in this stock of operations that needed to get done. And so we got deployed into a bunch of hospitals to try and see if we could help crunch through that backlog and get through it quicker. And we proved some pretty outstanding results very quickly. So essentially the how do you make better use of the operating theatres that you have and make sure that they're full every minute of the day? And that then turned into what became the federated data platform. So the NHS then ran a long procurement. It took a year. There were 30 independent assessors. It was it was about as kind of gold-plated belt and braces process that government can run. At the end of which we won, and that is where we are now, 2 years into that, which is rolling out the software to every hospital in the country to help them tackle that elective backlog, but also a whole raft of other things. Why is that controversial? Well, you tell me. As we see it, we are helping people get their operations faster. And Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party, seems to have taken exception to that. I mean, I'd argue he's putting his ideology over patient lives, patient safety. And it's a pretty hard sell, I would think, as a politician, to tell your constituents that, they're going to have to wait another, 6 months to get their operation because you've got an ideological problem with the way in which the software that's being used to schedule your operation might be being used in other parts of the world. That's basically what it boils down to.
So sorry, go on.
I just wanted to ask about the. I wanted to touch on the positive side first, where it's like the ambition of the government to try and be transformative, and you said that the PM kind of gets it right on a broad scope. Can you talk to us about the ambition of the government and working with them on that positive side first? Because I'm super interested about that.
Yeah, so the government came out with, I think it was beginning of last year, wasn't it now? Almost a year ago, over a year ago, the AI action plan, which I think was a tremendous bit of policy. Like it essentially set out exactly what I think this country should be doing. I think we're uniquely positioned to benefit unfairly in lots of ways from the AI revolution. I mean, if you were to design a technology revolution that was going to benefit Britain disproportionately, I think you'd come up with something like AI. But there is a whole bunch of things that the government needs to do to enable that and to accelerate that. And I thought that action plan was a great example. I mean, of course, transforming public services is just one aspect, right? Like you want AI to be woven into every aspect of our economy. So actually the biggest challenge is you've got to get businesses using it and transforming the way they operate, becoming more productive, creating new kinds of economic value as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And we've found from conversations on X that some people may disagree with this thesis. And the one in particular I want to bring up is the video shared by Zach. And you had a response to this that did incredibly well in terms of the impressions and the reach it got. But can you just sort of talk us to a little bit about this? Where did this video come from? Why was it made? I know there are, we got CEO wrong and a few other pretty big errors in the opening 5 seconds of the clip. But yeah, a little bit about the clip. What did you make of it? And then also your response as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it came pretty much out of the blue, right? He posted a video which just out on his social media feeds. This is Zach Palantir, where he had this kind of rather strange sort of taking his jacket off and eventually putting it back on at the end. Which was really sort of all these reasons why Palantir should be kicked out of the UK. And I mean, the staggering thing, as you said, is like the basic facts were wrong. And I think it tells you something that he hadn't bothered to do even the most basic research about the company. Sure. I don't think he understands what it is we do. I don't think he understands the value that we're bringing. If he can't even, as you say, name our CEO, that's quite telling. And yeah, if you're getting facts like that wrong, then it's very hard to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe like in the response, there are some details around the great things that the partnership has already achieved. Right, we mentioned the stages as which this has happened at. Initially like a global pandemic. You guys were there to help with this, and now what we're seeing, sort of connecting these siloed trust around and helping people understand the data a bit more. Do you guys have any? What are some of the great things that have come out of this partnership that maybe aren't being covered in Zach Palantir's video about the NHS and Palantir?
Well, just take the headline numbers, right? 110,000 people have had an operation in the UK thanks to this software, which they would not have otherwise had. So that's a lot of people. And that effectively is 3 hospital trusts worth of annual activity. So it's like that's how much capacity the software is adding to the system as a whole. And we're only 2 years in, right? So actually a lot of those first 2 years have been spent laying the foundations, setting the software up, integrating the data in these hospitals. You could think of that a bit like, building a house, right? You're pouring the concrete, you're laying the foundations. A lot of that's not visible. It's only really now that you are above ground and you're going to see those benefits start to accumulate at scale. So fast forward a couple of years, there will be millions of people in this country who've benefited from the software. They'll have had operations that otherwise they might have had to wait much longer for or not had at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned, the reason for the aggressive kind of push of Palantir into the UK and how bullish, obviously, you are about the UK and we are too. Can you talk to us about why is the UK such an incredible company to go and build, one of these frontier companies and have a place for something like Palantir, operating in and woven into the kind of foundations of the country? Why is it so important?
Well, it's about the fundamental reason is talent. So Palantir has almost 1 in 5 of its employees here in Britain, right? That's probably 4 or 5 times more in proportional terms than any other comparable US tech company. We do that because of the quality and quantity of the engineering talent that comes out of British universities, grows up here, but also wants to come and live and work in London, right? It's a magnet for that kind of talent. And so we build an enormous amount of the product in the UK. I mean, I think that's a very little known fact about Palantir is you could in lots of ways stick a made in Britain sticker on the product, right? Like it's made in London. And kind of like DeepMind, Google DeepMind is the Google's frontier lab. It's all in London. We in Britain have ended up with, a significant chunk of 2 of the most important nodes in what is the emerging supply chain. And I think there's lots of structural reasons why that is, but in the end, it's about talent.
Yeah. We completely agree. And some of the headlines that we've been seeing recently have sort of supported that. It seems that King's Cross is becoming more and more ever one of these sort of global hubs of AI, right? And it seems that that, you know, that sort of small subset of London is very much aware of how important this is, and they're engaging with it and they're pushing it. But I do think that more broadly across most countries, I remember when we had Sebastian Mallaby on, the author of The Infinity Machine, recently interviewed Nemesis Harvest for 4 years. He mentioned a stat that stuck with me, and it was 1 in 3 Americans are scared of AI broadly. So my question is, like, do you think there's work to be done on an education piece, an enablement piece? Is this like, I'm scared because I don't understand it? And that's just the natural sort of conclusion that people tend to draw. Like, do you think maybe, yeah, there's like an education delta there or something that maybe
definitely. I think, and I think, you know, the tech sector is doing a pretty terrible job of, in my opinion, of explaining, you know, what AI actually is and how it's going to benefit the vast majority of people.
Oh, we lost our buddy.
He's still there, but he's also vanished.
The phone, the phone's plugged in.
Oh, he's there.
Oh, you're
there
back.
We go. We're back.
We got you.
Okay,
yeah.
great.
Back in the room.
Yeah, I was saying, these doomerish predictions that, you know, in 18 months' time, you know, AI is going to make all white-collar jobs disappear.
Yeah,
That's just that is going to terrify people, understandably, and I also think it's wrong. I don't think that's correct. Yes, of course, AI is going to transform many aspects of our jobs, but on a net basis, it's definitely going to create jobs, and it's going to make lots and lots of people in the economy much more valuable than they are today, much more productive.
Yeah, and so then, you know, with you and your position, how do you feel that these companies can, you know, can educate the kind of the wider population, right? I guess people who, like us, who are pretty plugged into this stuff, you know, that's easier for an education piece, but then the ones who are in the wider market, how do you go about doing that, and what's the strategy, I guess, or the way that you think about it for Palantir?
Well, I think in many ways the tech sector, you know, we're our own worst advocates, right? Like the people who need to be talking about AI are the people who are benefiting from it directly, right? So in a healthcare context, you want doctors, you want nurses, you want people who work in hospitals explaining why it's making their lives better. Or, you know, in police, you want police officers talking about why it's making their jobs easier to do, faster, more efficient. So I think it's about the users actually stepping up and making the case.
Yeah,
I like
that makes sense. Last one before you go, and then we're coming up to time. I just wanted to quickly ask about the Palantir degree. It's a pin tweet that you have on your X account. Could you just, you know, what £60,000, I think it was, for an internship. I would love to know the thesis of the philosophy, as like why this has been created and what's it trying to do.
Yeah, so we launched this a few weeks ago, and it is to recruit the next generation of Palantirs directly from school. So the strap line is skip the debt and earn the Palantir degree. So don't go to uni, come straight to us. And the reason for that is honestly that the talent, like I mentioned, in this country is phenomenal. I think, and based on the applications we're getting, I think this thesis is being proven out that at 18, you're as good, in some ways, maybe even better than you are when you're 22 or 21, when you've left uni. And, you know, for those who want to build, just come straight to Palantir and start building. And don't take on the debt. We'll pay you very well. But more importantly, you're going to get to have a huge, huge impact on the biggest and hardest problems that we have today.
Yeah.
Wow. There you go. You heard it here first. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time. And keep us updated with everything Palantir and what you guys are working on. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Thank you. It's a huge pleasure, and love what you guys are doing. So all power to you.
Appreciate it. We'll do another reel as well soon.
Yeah, more hype reels.
Look forward to it.
Cheers,
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Bye.
Awesome stuff. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Now on the show, we have David Frykman, founder and general partner of Norrsken VC. Here we go.
Coming on to the show.
David, can you hear us? How's it going? Yes, we can.
As well?
See you, hear you. Everything is working perfectly.
Fantastic.
David, thank you for joining us today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. You have some really interesting stuff to discuss, which we will definitely get into. Maybe broadly, could you give an introduction as to who you are, what your role is with Norrsken VC, and then also Norrsken VC as a whole?
Absolutely, yes.
And thank you for having me. And I want to echo your previous speaker. It's great what you're doing for Europe. I think it's fantastic that someone is narrating what we're trying to, all the companies and initiatives that we're trying to do here in Europe. So thank you for doing that.
It. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So my name is David Frykman. I'm a GP with Norrsken VC. I started my career a long time ago now as an entrepreneur, and I've built a few businesses, some of them good, some of them not so good. One of them I took public a few years back, and then it was acquired. And since then, for the last 20 years, I've been doing investing full time. And for the last decade, I've been with Norrsken VC. And we're an early stage fund that focus on partnering with entrepreneurs that solve real problems, real big problems, because that generally tends to mean big markets, and thus makes it possible for really big outcomes.
Yeah, awesome. I would love to get into more on like the fund as well specifically, but I guess just to start the conversation, you and a few other companies have essentially or are publishing an open letter calling on the EU. Can you just sort of break down what this is? We're seeing the words like electro union being used. Broadly, like what is this? And then we can get into a few questions around that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Should I start with the background, or should I just go into what it is? Maybe I'll start with what it is. Okay, so it's a call from a broad coalition of organizations, foundations, VCs, corporates, startups that all wants the EU to commit to becoming an electro continent by 2040, which then means that about 50% of our economy will run on electricity. Today it's 25%, and it hasn't moved for about a decade. So that's what the call is. And we started out, I think we were like 10 or 15 companies and organizations that signed up, and now it's above 100. So it seems like it's catching on.
Damn. And what was the moment for you that you thought this was necessary, right? Like you mentioned, it's been quite a while since that number, well, it's not changed. The 25% hasn't increased in a number of years. When was it sort of like, okay, this needs to be addressed, and and a couple others are going to be the ones to push it?
Okay, so there's a macro answer to this, and then there's a more personal answer. But the macro answer is, so Europe has suffered 3 energy crises in 4 years. And each trigger was different, but the vulnerability is always the same. Europe runs on fuel that we do not own, we do not produce it, and it's shipped through waters that we do not control. So Europe is the most vulnerable continent when it comes to energy price shocks. And that just has to stop. We pay twice the price that Americans pay for their kilowatt hours. We pay 50% more than the Chinese do. So this is a weight on everything that we as Europeans try to do, right? Every factory, every startup, every data center, we start at a disadvantage compared to a US or a Chinese initiative. So, and you guys are deep into the weeds of AI, and as you know, it's a fundament of anything in AI is energy. So we just felt that it's about time that we go. We need to wean off our dependency on foreign fossil fuels and instead go focus on our domestic production.
Yeah. And then what practically then what does independency look like in Europe, right? What does it mean that we own kind of all our ability to generate energy and therefore kind of compute and everything else downstream from that? What does it practically look like, and how long is that kind of time horizon, right? Is that kind of 10 years? It's probably longer. What does it look like?
Yeah, exactly. No. Okay, so that's a very good question. So we're at 25% now. So we can look at it from various perspectives, but if we start at timeline, so our aim is 2040, and that's absolutely doable. Sure. If we look at the cost, we can we can say that we paid for the crisis premium that we paid for fossil fuels over the last 4 years. We could have financed getting to 60%. So I mean, what we're paying, so it's such a small part of the total consumption on energy. So that would just make a huge difference. And when you ask like, what does it look like? So basically, today. 75% runs on oil, gas, and a little bit of coal, right? Mm-hmm. And what it needs to be replaced with is wind, solar, nuclear, geothermal. And the thing is that the tech is already there. Like we have the tech to go to at least 90% electrification. So we don't need new tech. I think the capital is there. The talent is there. So what's needed is probably just a kind of dedication from the policy and politics side of it, that this is where we're going. Make it, you know how it is in investments. As soon as you add risk, the weighted average cost of capital goes up. And so So here I think the WACC has been very high due to it's very different in all the different countries in Europe. Regulations change, and you can spend 10 years of getting a permit to build a wind farm, and then politicians pull the plug. So make it a little bit more predictable, and I think the talent, the capital, and the tech is there, and we could absolutely do this by 2040.
Yeah. So I guess broadly speaking, then it's really just not even an awareness problem, like as you say, all the resources is there. It's more just like a drive problem, right? Like maybe there's some regulation stuff around it that would prohibit it from moving so fast, but it's essentially just like, hey, let's wake up type thing. Like we've got everything we need to go and do this. Let's just go and do it.
I think that's a very good. So exactly, because you could argue like, why would you not do this, or can we really afford to do this? And I would argue that it's the other way around. Like we cannot afford not to do this. We have to do this. We can't and this is when I come back to my personal point in time when I was sitting. I'm on the board of a company that is going public. We were sitting with the investment bankers, and then we're talking about the macro and the Trumps and what is it going to be possible to go public or not? And they spent 20 minutes out of an hour talking about the oil price. And I was just like, this is such a flashback from various parts of my life. Like it's in the 70s, it was like this. In the 80s, it was like this. And we've just always have this. We're dependent on oil and what's happening in the Middle East. And it's not necessary. Like we don't have to be here. So I just, it feels like it's about time that we do something about this.
I want to dig a little bit deeper onto the capital side, right? You said, that we probably have the capital, and we've talked to a lot of people, especially kind of GPs of funds in Europe, who say, yes, we have the capital, and it's not necessarily kind of the venture pounds, euros, whatever you want. But it's more the institutional side and pension funds and the risks that these pension funds aren't taking, and that they should be putting more money into the venture ecosystem rather than kind of less risky alternatives. Do you agree with that, or is it or will the money kind of come from somewhere else? I'm just interested.
It's a very good question. Now we're leveling up, right? So you're moving up in the hierarchy of questions.
We're leaving this guy behind.
You're leaving me behind.
This guy.
No, but I was actually in a meeting about this not long ago, and talking about the German pension system, and so what it is basically, there's two types of pension systems if you make a very unclear distinction, but it's good for pedagogically. So there's pay as you go, and there's where you pay in and you have your own pension that you take out when you are much older, right? So sure. The pay as you go basically means that I pay for someone who is retired currently. And Sweden, for example, runs with this other system where I pay in and then someone holds my pensions for 50 years. And if Europe would go more towards that, which also is the case in the US. Then you have huge pension funds, and pension funds are looking for returns. And so they want a mixed portfolio where alternative investments, that is VC and similar, often is like 15-20% of the total portfolio. But in countries that don't have that system, then what happens is that you don't get much money towards venture capital. Sure. And that's a European problem overall, that we have way too little capital, institutional capital, go into venture capital. So you're absolutely right. That would make a big difference.
Yeah. But then how do you do that? How do you get the institutions to take more risk? I'm just trying to wrap my head around. It sounds like it's just a wake up call kind of decision, right? It's not this isn't like a big thing where you have to kind of jump through tons of hoops in terms of you have to build infrastructure or have the talent. We have everything, so it's just almost like a decision. But how do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's so in Italy, for example, they have now mandated all larger pension funds that they need to allocate towards venture capital.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out.
Sure.
And we've had the similar thing in Sweden, where the biggest pension funds are state governed, and they've done a similar thing. So maybe that could make a difference. I also think that just looking over the pond and seeing how well the big schools foundations are doing over there, especially Yale is the kind of model that everybody else is looking at. They have 15-20% in alternatives. So I think that's going to just by capitalistic reasons is going to be imported to Europe as well.
Definitely. Yeah. It seems to be like there has been a need for some sort of catalyst, whatever it is, to wake up a continent or a nation, or pick how big you want to go. Do you think AI and the energy conversations around that, in terms of like we need to be sovereign from an energy perspective in order to compete globally with AI, do you think AI could be the catalyst, like weirdly enough, that then results in like a net zero initiative like this, or like a...
Exactly. I think it could be that, but I've been wrong before, sadly. But the combination of this, this third energy crisis and the really high prices, with the fact that we need, at the bottom of the AI Maslow hierarchy or pyramid, we need energy, cheap energy. So the combination of that, and together with the Marloo report, the Draghi report that came a couple of years ago, that's like one of the first sentences is that we're paying too much for energy. That's our big competitive disadvantage in Europe. So all of those things together, I think it could absolutely be a wake-up call. On top of that, solar and wind are the cheapest now. It's cheaper than all of the other energy. So, I mean, and it's gone down 90% over the last decade in price. So there's purely capitalistic arguments, and those may be the strongest, that this is where we should go.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. We're just hitting time, so I guess where can we direct people to? Where can we direct more attention to on this matter?
So you could go to Norrsken.vc, and we have more information there, and you can sign up and join the call.
Amazing, awesome. Amazing. We I wanted to get into some more questions around Norrsken, but we'll have to do that maybe another time, because we are
another time
interview. But welcome back anytime.
Focus on the most important.
Yeah, very noble. Welcome back anytime. It's been a pleasure to chat. Thank you.
The same. Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Have a good one. Great to meet you. Awesome stuff. Leave out Daily Business Banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Next on the show,
Hardy Michael.
We have
co-founder of Marloo. I think I'm getting that right. Marloo. It's
Marloo.
O.
Here we go.
We got Hardy him coming into the studio.
How's it going, Hardy?
Dude, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us. We got some interesting news to discuss. Do you want to maybe introduce yourself, introduce the business, and then also the news as well?
Absolutely. So I'm Hardy, co-founder of Marloo. We're an AI partner for financial advisors. And today we have some very exciting news to share. We've raised a 10 mil USD seed round off the back of a pretty phenomenal 12 months since we started.
Let's go. Dude, congrats. That's huge. That's awesome.
Huge congrats. I wanted to ask about the first 12 months. What does it look like?
Let's start there.
Talk to us about the growth and where you've come from month one to now, and what it looks like in the future, I guess, as well.
Yeah, great question. So 12 months ago, we just landed our first paid customer almost to the day, and we compounded revenue at 40% month on month for that first 12 months. We're paying customers in 6 different countries, and we've shipped a phenomenal amount of product in that time. And kind of the key takeaway is financial advisors who are our customers are raving and love the product for the first time in decades. They have an experience which is kind of beautiful and simple and delightful. And off the back of that traction, we have raised more to go faster.
Dude, so cool. So cool. Give us an idea of like your background, the founding story here. When did you think that this was a problem that I'm sort of like uniquely positioned to attack?
Yeah, so I spent 7 years building retail investing platforms. One in New Zealand, which is where I'm from originally, called Sharesies, which I would describe as the Revolut of New Zealand. We built a phenomenal business in one of the world's smallest markets. Today, Sharesies is used by more than 20% of the population. We went from kind of 5 of us to 250 employees.
Wow.
It's, cash flowing, profitable, like extremely well-known kind of household name and consumer brand. And I ended up in London because I was headhunted by the Lightyear team, who were Martin and Michel from early at Wise, to build Lightyear in Europe, and kind of some very similar problems and crossover there with what I'd done previously. And off the back of that, I had just seen the demand building these platforms for millions of retail investors for the need for great financial advice. And it's a lot more than just, should I buy or sell a stock or shares? It is all these kind of life-driven events that could be going to university and taking on debt for the first time, getting married, like buying your first home, retirement, inheritance, divorce, illness, injury, supporting family members. And whether you like it or not, you'll be faced with these moments over your lifetime. And the ability to get great advice in these kind of highly emotional, quite nuanced situations can impact your ability to compound for the remainder of your life. And so what we stand for is more great financial advice in the world. And we took a pretty unconventional approach. So we actually raised a little bit of money up front from Blackbird to essentially conduct a search, and kind of the thesis was go slow to go fast, and it still takes just as long as it ever did to build a generational company. And so we spent a year going deeper than we believe anyone else in the space. We spent months and months in-house with different advisors all around the world, just basically finding insights and secrets that compound, and that's what has now allowed us to move so quickly in some of the phenomenal growth that we've seen in the last 12 months. And the reason for being able to raise this capital is we've transitioned from the go slow mode to the go exceptionally fast mode, but we have just like extreme clarity on where we're going as a result of that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's go.
I wanted to ask about the because we've had a few similar companies who are kind of doing something for each side, where it's like you're doing it for a consumer side, but then you also might, and then other companies that are doing it for the advisor side. Can you talk to us about kind of what specifically you're enabling advisors to do? Because this problem is huge, and the market is huge, and the opportunity is therefore huge. And I want to ask, what you see the kind of future of this technology looking like for an advisor specifically.
Yeah, so I think kind of the current state of an advisor's life is, hey, I got into this profession to be people first. I'm a relationship manager, and I deliver trust. That's what people are paying me for. Yeah. It's not necessarily the differentiated portfolio strategy. It is me, the person, to understand you and enable you to make the best decisions.
Sure.
And so beyond that, when you actually go and spend time with them, two things were true from our experience. One, the existing software is extremely clunky, Windows 95 error, and it fights them on a daily basis. And why is that? Because it's been forced compliance first, top down on the end consumer, who's the advisor here, and product quality has never had to be there, and adoption has always suffered as a result of that. And so what we have done is we've brought this kind of PLG principles from our consumer, like retail investing world and background. We can build like world-class consumer product for someone who's never been targeted in that way. And what we're seeing is like a bottoms-up evangelism. So you can sign up, it takes less than 2 minutes. We started out with note taking as a wedge, high pain, high frequency, but we're now expanding much beyond that. And the whole kind of premise is like the note taker era is over. And now we are doing net new work that isn't available anywhere else. So advisors are spending 70 to 80% of their time non-client facing, and they're almost in a model now where more client meetings is net bad for business. So if I meet with you, I walk away from that meeting, I need to do an annual review letter or a suitability report. I need to go and make a pension information request, for example. That could be 10 hours of work for me from that 30-minute conversation. And if you scale that across 100 or 150 clients, you end up putting yourself through the absolute ringer to deliver your service. And so that's the opportunity for us.
Yeah. And then I want to go deeper onto that and the future you see the market of financial advisory, right? If an individual advisor is able to kind of, accelerate their work and spend more time with clients, what does the future of the market look like? Is it like large financial advisory institutions taking kind of the market share, or is it a bunch of, smaller individual players in different local markets? Like how do you see the market evolving with how the technology is evolving? Because I imagine it's the latter, right? It's more individual players with, highly kind of, I guess, like very close relationships with their clients, and a lot of them, like a load of individuals working for clients. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think my view is like we provide choice. It's not for us to tell the advisor what to do. They know how to deliver the service. And so, cool. If I can cut 90% of the time and cost or your unit economics in order to deliver your advice, that's up to you to decide what to do with it. Some firms are both in consolidation mode, so they will use that as a lever to get leverage on capital and time to deliver their service. And other advisors might decide, hey, I'm going to spend more time at the beach or with my kids and family. And that's totally fine. It's up for them. And like we're pro-choice in that scenario, but there's no reason why an enterprise can't use us, and there's no reason why an independent advisor can't use us, because of the way we've built the product for the user first, and the fact that the product experience is the same regardless of who you are in that firm. As far as like what's the ultimate product experience that we're working towards, there's maybe 5 or 6 different personas in a firm, from a CEO and a managing director through to the advisor through to the support staff or compliance in a firm. They log into Marloo and they have the contextualized view, and we do all of the work and the heavy lifting that surrounds the client meeting, the client-facing elements and aspects, and the advisor becomes the reviewer. And so that's where you get the 10x and the massive reduction in your cost to serve, essentially.
Yeah. Is there an argument here then that if I'm a financial advisor and I'm using this technology, that FaceTime with clients would trend up? Like I could also service more clients as well, right? If I'm, not stuck in the weeds as much, I can spend more time bringing on more people. I can handle more volume. Like, is this something that you're seeing? Are you seeing the people that use this, they're sort of expanding their reach and their, I guess you'd call it like a customer base, but just a client portfolio maybe?
Yeah, it's pretty well proven already, even with the 12 months that we've had, and noting that there's more to come. So we have advisors who have already said, I can go from seeing my best clients 1 to 2 times a year to 4 to 6 times a year. Or I can instantly increase my client capacity by 20%. And in that example, we're cutting a process that currently takes 8 hours down to 45 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I wanted to ask about the split of the onboarding of like different customers. Is it more individuals, or is it more like enterprise, or not enterprise, but kind of like larger firms? What does it look like?
The answer is both. And the reason for that is like wealth management software has never had to compete on adoption, right? So the product that wins the category is the one that's most loved, and it's also the one doing the work that no one else can. And I think like our kind of unique point of view here is like, hey, the original bet was that note-taking was a feature, not like the category-defining product. That's always been super clear to us before we wrote a line of code. And we've kind of architected and built this platform to now deliver at pace kind of the future of the profession and what we think advisors need in terms of a partner to get leverage. And be the AI product that is synonymous with, wealth management and financial advice.
Yeah. And I also wanted to ask about the market on the consumer side, the ones asking for financial advice. You're seeing almost like a democratization, the early stages of democratization for financial advice. Advisors, can lower their threshold to be a client from maybe 150k in assets to 50k in assets. Can you talk to us about that tailwind within the market and like what you see kind of going on years ahead for Marloo?
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic. I kind of have two views and opinions on this.
Sure.
So one, like we actually looked at building a full stack AI native wealth manager from scratch.
No way.
Yeah, everything was on the table. We had a lot of time to think about this, right?
Yeah.
Our belief is always, and like one of our core principles is ground yourself in the pain and the problem of the existing customer. And so every single day we are building towards the piece of software that runs an advice firm, right? In a highly regulated environment. And the thing to add is we're now doing this with paying customers in 7 countries, which no one else has done. Everyone else is single market. So we've abstracted away a huge amount of complexity and able to deliver that, regulatory and otherwise. And so my view is like our existing customers who are advisors wouldn't necessarily say that they are competing for the business of, say, like a retail investor from one of the platforms that we've come from. What I see happening is the retail platforms building their own wealth management businesses, which you can see Revolut, Robinhood now doing.
Right. Yeah.
And someone like ourselves being perfectly set up to be able to partner and support that growth and give them leverage if that was what they were to choose.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Well, and, let's talk about the raise for a little bit. I know Blackbird, like seasoned VC in Australia, I'm pretty sure. I have like friends, I think that have had experience with them. It's an incredibly prestigious name. Like, what is the plan with all the capital? Like, where's the immediate focus going to be? Is this like, let's just get some cracked engineers in here? Is this like go to market? Like, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, great question. Just enable everything we're doing currently, but faster. It's not necessarily growing a huge team. We are aiming for the smallest, highest output team possible, and that's like a very clear distinction for us. At Sharesies, we went 5 to 250 people, and that's not the dream that anyone should be chasing. And just the amount that you slow down as a result of that was startling in hindsight. And so we are just going for people who want to work with AI, be on the cutting edge of making a real difference in people's lives, and make the most of the huge tailwinds that we have in this space. And so primarily this is going into go-to-market initiatives. And like to give you an example, everything we've done so far has been with an average of 8 people in the team.
Damn. How? Yeah, because this is insane. Like the leanifying of teams is hitting every single industry. It's even here, right? Like we were able to set up a whole live show with like 4 or 5 people. I mean, it's a lot of work for those 4 or 5 people, but compared to the margins on other companies that are maybe setting up traditional versions of it, it's insane. Like how could you have a unique take on this, because you've obviously seen the side in which something can, I'm not suggesting it was bloated, but you mentioned that as it grows it slows down. Like how are you like comparing the two? Like how have you found
I think we're in a fundamentally different mode of company building now. And so like to give you a real illustration of what that looks like, everyone who works at Marloo is shipping code and PRs on a daily basis. And it doesn't matter whether you have a technical background or not. There's no product management function. There's no roadmap. There's no backlog. There's no tickets or task management system. It's you can either execute it individually yourself, or you need to convince someone else why they should work on that.
That's okay. This is the modern way that these lean teams should be running. We are officially out of time, which is a shame. But congratulations on the news again. Feel free to please keep us updated. We'd love to have you back on. And yeah, sounds like you guys are smashing it.
Brilliant. Been great to chat. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Cheers.
Congrats.
Have a good one.
Soon.
Ciao, ciao.
Awesome stuff. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com.
Up next we got Ben
Staudt, I think.
Yeah, they got I think Staudt.
Yeah.
Co-CEO of Patronus Group. They have some interesting news to share with us.
They say our mission is to empower older adults to live healthy, connected, and independently by providing easy-to-use health and social technology to create a world where aging is delightful.
Yes, sir. And the news is to the tune of 11 million euros. But we have Ben in the studio. How are you doing? We're doing very well. Congratulations. Thank you for spending time with us on this busy day. Maybe you want to intro yourself, the company, and also the awesome news that you have to share.
Well, yeah, thank you for letting me in on short notice. I mean, we announced the funding today. Otherwise, I would have sent you some merch over. I saw some other guests did this. So we'll follow up with that.
We'll do it next time you're on. All good.
Perfect. So yeah, maybe quickly on Patronus. So Patronus is building digital products that the elderly people actually adopt for independent, connected, and safe aging. And what we started with is an emergency or smart voice based emergency solution for elderly people. So they can wear it and they can trigger an emergency and get help via a professional call center.
Yeah.
In case they have emergency problems. And over time, we moved from this product to bigger ecosystem, so engaging the family more. Because typically what we've seen is that there's typically a family taking care of elderly people. And we always got those calls from our customers that say, hey, I want to be able to call on the watch. I always struggle to reach my mom via the phone. So we expanded from emergency to family engagement. And now in the next phase of the company, we're more moving towards well-being on the physical side as well as the mental side, especially towards loneliness.
Yeah, what really cool mission. Can we focus maybe on like the founding story behind this? Like what is the specific problem you saw back then? Like how big was it in your mind? How did you get going on this? Because it's very unique, both like hardware consumer, but for an ICP that's traditionally non-native to technology. So you kind of choosing the hardest path, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's true. I sometimes ask myself this. But what I saw was actually coming from a more private story. So my grandma was wearing one of those red emergency buttons. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she always said it's her night table decoration. So she was never wearing it. And I said that's actually sad because it's such a great idea. You can get help in case of an emergency, so when you need it. And then I started looking into the market, and what I saw is there's over 1 million people using such solutions in Germany. And it's this, and there are very few modern solutions in this overall market. And I think that goes for the whole elderly market in general. There are very few modern cool solutions, and then I wondered, why is that? And what I saw is that elderly people struggle to adopt new technologies. They're very often afraid. And that's where Patronus starts. So we built a solution that elderly people really adopt by focusing on the need of elderly people and tailoring our product around and not trying to tailor their needs around our product. And that's basically what we've done. And then we started with this emergency solution and basically we listen to our customers very carefully over time and continue to iterate and develop and expand the product.
Yeah. This is a really cool technology. Talk to us about the raise. Talk to us about the investors. How did this come about? What was appetite like for something like this? Because it's quite unique, you know. I think it's a really unique business, a really powerful one as well.
Thank you. Yeah. So as you said, we announced our funding round today, actually. So we're very happy to welcome 3TS Capital Partners and Grazie Equity on board, and also see continued support from our existing investors that we're very thankful for. And I think what we saw in terms of timing, first of all, I think hardware subscriptions are getting more popular. So we saw Aura, we saw Whoop, we saw Tractive. So I think there's some good dynamics in the market, firstly. Secondly, the demographic change in I think in the world is accelerating. So in Germany, for every person that enters the workforce, there are 2 people leaving the workforce, and so there's a lot of pressure on the system. And thirdly, we see that we cracked something that very few people did. We managed to digitize elderly people, and with the advancements in AI, especially, I think we can make sure we can solve a lot more problems for our customers that actually have some real world problems and some meaningful problems. And I think this combination helped us to be in a good position and conduct the fundraising now. And now we're very excited to move towards well-being as a company.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They're really sick. Let's talk about that next step then, this well-being push. In my mind, I'm thinking that it's essentially, in a way, a Whoop style wearable that's built specifically for elderly individuals and is nuanced among their needs. Like, can you maybe speak towards what this could look like, how you plan to get there?
Yeah, absolutely. So we split well-being in two components. The first one is the physical component. The second one is the mental component. On the physical side, we see that many of our customers, so the median age is 78, to give you a bit of an idea, they have multiple chronic disease, and there's an increasing awareness that they want to be able to track those disease and have a look for their vital signs. And so this is a very vulnerable group. And basically what we want to do, we want to enable them to take care of themselves and to live more independently and more safely by giving them, for instance, more vital signs. On the mental side, and I think that's the part where there's more innovation, because I think vital signs, there's a lot happening. There's more giving our customers access. On the mental side, we see that a lot of our customers are very lonely. So, and as I said, we always try to work very closely and listening to our customers. So we always had this issue between, we had a peak in emergency calls. That was typically the case, and that was not real emergencies, it was because people just wanted to talk because they were not visited over the break. And I was wondering, hey, how can we address this? There are not so many good solutions. And then when I always had this idea of building a community, connecting people, but then you always have this matching algorithm like topic. And now then when voice AI came along, we played around with that, and then we saw that this can be something that gives elderly people information they need, give them the chance to talk, and let them participate and take a loneliness. And that's something that we are now working on and that we're super excited about, because we believe this is a very serious issue, especially among elderly people.
Yeah.
And so the way that would work, right, I guess an elderly person can call up said number and talk to a voice agent. Is that right?
So, I mean, the good thing is on the watch, the one thing that we manage super well is our customers have a very high engagement and they're wearing the watch all the time. And then there are two different ways that we're currently iterating. The one is you actively ask for a call. So you press a button on the watch and then you ask, hey, I want to talk to someone. And very often it's just having someone that asks questions.
Sure.
So because, for instance, when I talk to my grandma, was always typically an 80-20 mix in terms of conversation share.
Yeah.
And so I think it's letting people like go in the direction of whatever. And then I think they were working towards being a bit more reactive. So that's the one component. And the other component is more a check-in feature where you're actively being called, checking, hey, everything is okay, quick reminder, and all those directions. And we're taking a very iterative approach to it. So we're basically testing this with existing customers at the moment and seeing which use cases are the best ones for them. And that's how we all develop all our products, very customer driven.
Yeah. How do you come up against because I think naturally there would always be a tendency to, especially for elderly individuals where they're not afraid of technology, but maybe they don't understand it. So maybe they'd be traditionally a little bit standoff. How do you enable them to understand hey, this is actually really helpful and you're going to enjoy it and it's going to be, a good thing? Is there a conversation you have to have there? Or is it usually maybe family member purchases it and then, what's that like?
Yeah, we actually in the beginning thought it's always the family member is always the decision maker. It turned out that that's not true. I think they like to think that, and they like to say that, but if we're talking about actual usage and adoption, you need to convince the elderly. That's the important part about it. And what we tried is to remove as many barriers as possible, because what we learned from talking to thousands of customers is this very first touch point with technology is the most decisive one. So when you unpack it, when you start it, when you call your first emergency, this is super critical. Once you convince the customer there, they're super loyal customers. They have their routines and they stay on board. And so made sure this is super easy. So we have an all-in-one solution where there's a SIM card, a microphone, and everything. We have a very simple manual where we read out how you start the product. We do test emergency with you with a very nice person in the call center that helps you. And we really focus on making sure this first experience is very strong, because we believe that's the most important part, and that's why we also pitch very strongly that we have a trial period. It's very easy, and we convince customers to try it and to convince themselves. That's what makes it special.
That makes sense. And like with regards to traction, how have things been sort of in between each like stage of funding here? Like I guess from inception to now. What are the growth trajectories? Like, what have they been like? What do they look like? Yeah, how's that going?
Yeah, so we're at 25,000 customers today. And I think what we've seen is first we started with the emergency device, had good traction around this. And then over time we added the family members to the mix, and let's say expanded the ecosystem by multiple. Yeah. And now we want to go deeper in the value chain towards well-being.
Yeah. And so where do you see, you mentioned going deeper into the value chain. Is that, how much of that is like an education piece as much as a kind of like go-to-market function? Like, what's the strategy for kind of going like deeper into the wellness like space?
Yeah, I think for us, I think the trade-off is making things very simple. Yeah. So maintaining engagement, adoption, and ease of use, and adding features. So because tomorrow we could add a shit ton of features, but we might end up losing what makes us special. And I think this is for us the big trade-off what we see. And the way we look at it is we take a very iterative approach. So always like take small segments of customers. We're very engaged customers. So every time we send an email to them, we get some very fast and long response. So we test a lot with them and see what works well. And then over time, I think we need to make our product more customizable. So because there will always be those customers that want to keep a very easy solution. So just like an emergency button, super low key. And then there's some customers that really want to go deep in understanding how they are. And then here, I think it's testing it with them and then making it more customizable over time.
Yeah.
There you go.
About 30 seconds left. Let me just, before you go, like where can we send people? Obviously, the raise has been announced today, so I'm sure you guys are getting a lot of attention. Where can we push viewers, listeners? Website, events, landing pages. Where can we send people?
I would say mostly, if it's customers to our website, and I think if it's investors, corporation partners, I think you can approach us via LinkedIn.
Awesome stuff. Ben, thank you for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Keep us posted.
Thank you.
Welcome back anytime.
It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks, sir.
Great to meet you. Awesome stuff. Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. Let's dive deep into the billionaire roster that we want to go to.
15-minute break from guests.
Yeah.
Let's do from 5th to 1st.
Oh, there's only 5. Oh, there's loads of them.
There's loads, but let's just do top 5.
Top 5?
Yeah.
Okay, so shall I start?
Wait, hold on. Are we going to share this? I'm not sure if we are, because I don't want to...
We don't have to. We can.
No, that's not. I think let's just keep it... Okay, so for those who are wondering what the hell's going on right now, Forbes have released a re-ranking of the world's billionaires by wealth and also altruism. So we're going to be going over the top 5. We'll break it down from 5th to 1st, but as an introduction to the article, let me maybe just start as to how they've done this and what it kind of looks like. So this is from Forbes, piece by Matt Durrott and Chase Peterson Withorn. It starts with Elon Musk is the planet's richest person by far. Everyone kind of already knew that. Worth 839 billion as a Forbes annual world's billionaire list. He also ranks among the least philanthropic billionaires. Sure, Musk is... Sorry, but I'm not even sure. I've not read the next line, but let's also take into account the amount of tax this man pays. I think he pays the most tax out of any human being ever.
Easily.
Not to like jump in independent straight away, but sure, Musk has transferred 8.5 billion of Tesla stock to his charitable foundations, 1% of his net worth, but nearly all of it is still sitting there idle, only an estimated 500 million, or 0.06% of Musk's vast fortune. Wow, they're really going after Musk. Poor guy. He pays like so much tax. Okay, a little bit more on that there.
Let's go through the list.
Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah, fine, whatever. Okay, let's go through the list then. We'll start on number 5. Here, to be fair, maybe it's fun if I share my screen and we can
share your screen. Go for it. Number 5, Sergey Brin. His adjusted net worth is $278 billion, which has gone up $41 billion. Is that within the year, I assume? Brin has moved an estimated 131 million shares of Google parent company Alphabet into charitable vehicles, including his Sergey Brin Foundation. Some $5 billion has already gone out the door, including more than $2 billion to support research into Parkinson's disease, which his late mother had. He also gave $345 million to climate change non-profits, last year, and is taking on autism in his latest effort to direct most of his giving to conditions affecting the central nervous system.
Nice.
What a beast.
That was number 5, Sergey Brin, coming in with the 5th spot. Now, number 4, Larry Page. Adjusted net worth, 284 billion. That's a plus 27 bill increase. His giving focus is on climate change and health. The Google co-founder has stuffed stock into his Carl Victor Page Memorial Foundation. That would be worth more than 23 billion today if he still held it.
No way, that's mad.
Oh man. The organization, which is named for his father, is sitting on more than 7 billion in assets after doing out nearly 2 billion, almost entirely through opaque donor-advised funds that don't have a minimum distribution requirement or report how much they have actually given to those in need, keeping Page off of Forbes' list of America's largest philanthropists. So number 4, Larry Page.
There you go. Number 3, Mr. Warren Buffett, the godfather of the stock market. His adjusted net worth of $363 billion, which is up $214 billion, which is bonkers. In 2006, the legendary investor announced he would give away nearly all of his fortune. In the 2 decades since, he has donated more than 278,000 Class A shares of his conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway, worth some $200 billion if he still held them. The stock has mainly gone to the Gates Foundation, 3 charities run by Buffett's 3 children, and a foundation named for his late wife. His will stipulates that virtually all of what's left when he dies must be given away within 10 years.
Oh yeah, wasn't he?
So he'll shoot to the top of the list ASAP.
Wasn't he famous for he's not leaving his kids anything? I swear. Or was it someone else?
No, I think you're semi right. Yeah, I think it was also. I want to say Bill Gates was the same.
Yeah, I can't remember. Maybe it was Gates. I don't know. I can't remember.
Anyway, well, number 2, Mr. Bill Gates.
Number 2 is Bill. It's our good friend Bill. Look at that polite little smile there on this thing. He just looks like such a happy dude. 464 billion plus 356 bill. Health, poverty, alleviation is his giving focus. Gates and his billionaire ex-wife Melinda French Gates have poured 60 billion into the Gates Foundation since its founding in 2000, including Microsoft stock that would be worth an estimated 287 billion today. Damn, that is a lot of cash. Counting those shares and other cash gifts he has made adds more wealth to his fortune than any other billionaire besides Musk has amassed. Even in true net worth terms, Gates donated 12.5 billion to women's empowerment groups set up by French Gates after she resigned from their Gates Foundation in 2024. In May, he announced that the Gates Foundation will spend 200 billion and shut down by 2045. Bill and Melinda famously teamed up with Warren Buffett in 2010 to found the Giving Pledge, encouraging signers to publicly commit to donating the bulk of their fortunes to charity.
There you go. I feel like we have to kind of give a quick Elon Musk is still in the game. He's in the AI race. He's about to IPO his company. He's merging his companies into a big Musk megacorp, as they're saying. The guy's still in the game, and he's still at the top of the list, which is of the giving list.
But
kind of bonkers.
he is almost double second.
True.
Which is nuts, right? He's not even like potentially in the game, still in the game. He's owning the game. He's the
guy who owns the game.
He's created the game and he owns the game, and I think maybe like, wait, what?
He's almost 2 and 3 combined, I think. Yeah. Anyway, let's read it. Elon Musk adjusted net worth $858 billion, which is 19 billion from current net worth, up 19 billion. Musk made nearly all of his $8.5 billion of Tesla stock donations to his Musk Foundation during the 13 months through December 2024. Those tax-deductible gifts likely helped reduce the amount he owed to the IRS after selling $39 billion of Tesla stock around that time, mostly to finance his $44 billion Twitter acquisition. Big up X. The Musk Foundation is still sitting on much of that money, failing in several years to pay out even 5% of its assets annually as required by federal law. The foundation has transferred at least $600 million to another foundation Musk set up in 2022 called the X Foundation, aptly named, with a stated mission to fund a new STEM-focused independent primary and secondary school and ultimately a university near SpaceX's manufacturing facility in Bastrop, Texas. I think all of these larger all of the players who are looking forward looking, right? Even we're talking Louis Mosley when who's at Palantir. They obviously have the Palantir degree. The ones that are really moving the needle in the frontier on humanity stuff are building education organizations, which I think is super interesting. And there's a whole kind of industry of building your own school, which I think is interesting as well. Where it's the school system isn't needed, and it is a school for young people to learn, more. It's not backdated. It's not a school system that's backdated, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of these guys think you should get better experience in either homeschooling has become pretty popular for some people who have the cash to do it, basically.
Sure.
But also even the Teal fellowships, hey, I'll pay you to not go to school and just build real world stuff. Here's money to go and do something that you probably want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, they're obviously of the where they'd rather you not, if you are, a top sort of percentile talent or mind or brain, it would be a waste for you to maybe go through the school ranks and be molded and whatnot in their way, instead of going out and just having an impact on the world potentially.
Indeed. Before we have our next guest on, we have 5 or 6 minutes. We should talk about the sub 2 hour marathon. Let's go to the town square quickly. I want to get up a video of the guy on BBC who, if you go to the doc, go to the town square, and go to the top link of the sub 2 hour marathon. And let's watch this video because
this is quite a cool video.
It's so cool. Absolutely love it. This is Max Graveling. He said, "History made live on the BBC." Here we go. Ready?
Yeah. Are we ready for this? Can we pull it up? Yeah. Cool.
Are we going sub 2? Martin, we might be going sub 2.
Let's speak to Matt Graveling, who's a marathon veteran himself. He's in the Mall.
I just love how much he loves it.
Record.
We have a new women's-only world record here on the streets of London. More than £1 billion raised since 1981. There is some noise going on around me, Martin. We've got the male
here he is
now going past me.
Absolutely blasting past him. Mad.
In my eyes a bit. I believe that's Sebastian Sarway. I'm just looking at my TV screen.
And when he realises
Sarway, it is. The Kenyan is going to be coming down the Mall now. The clock is currently 1:59:10. Martin, this is quick. This is quick. This could be on here for a world record men's time. Are we going sub 2? Martin, we might be going sub 2. We might be going sub 2 here on the streets of London. It's never happened in an official race. He's done it. 1:59:30. Martin, honestly, this is
what a legend. Mate, they should.
It's just happened here. live on the news channel on the streets of London. Sebastian Solway from Kenya is in the record books, not just here today, forever. Phenomenal.
He says it so well. He says it so well.
He should.
He said the favorite moment of my broadcasting career, Kenya's Sebastian Solway broke the impossible sub 2 hour barrier at the London Marathon. I was live with Martin BBC on BBC News and BBC World talking about the something record when Solway flew past, which is absolutely bonkers.
He should report on all the live sporting events. That's quite cool.
He should
be the guy. That
I think he will. I think he'll get more jobs off the back of that.
Yeah, surely if that's gone viral. It's like
because
265.
And then just quickly the Adidas ad as well. This was posted by Sam Bowman, friend of the stream. He was like, "This is such a cool ad to put on less than 24 hours after the race." This is obviously Sebastian Solway who just broke the 2 hour record. But that was the morning after that happened, which is that was the Monday morning.
Because he ran it in those unreleased shoes from Adidas,
and then they released the shoes in like a few weeks or a week or something.
Yeah.
So like it's a huge campaign, and the fact that they've already got this out as a campaign.
Those shoes will be. I saw loads of funny tweets. It's like, can't wait to buy these and then go and smash like a 27-minute 5K in my local park.
Yeah. I love it.
Which is brilliant.
And then that ad was also on Piccadilly Circus as well. It was literally the whole board on Piccadilly Circus. So yeah, props to Adidas for jumping on that so quickly. I imagine like it was already in place, but and they knew something was going to happen. But
I saw
the fact that he broke 2 hours is even better.
He'd asked for multiple drug tests in the 7 weeks running up to that, like an above normal amount to.
Oh really? To just make sure he cleared.
So he was like, I know there's going to be scrutiny here. I know that I know I'm going to go do something mad, and I need to completely clear. I'm prepared to clear myself if something comes up.
Mate,
that's how
big up Sebastian. He was. Anyway, so that happened in London. I was there. I was on the finish line basically. So thoroughly enjoyed and glad that it happened in London. Anyway, Base, the infrastructure for the on-chain world. Go to base.org. Next on the show, we have our penultimate guest, who I think we can probably
Andrey.
bring into the show. To be fair. Yeah. Andrey, can you hear us?
Optic.
Yes, hi.
How's it going?
Hi, great. How are you?
Doing very well. Andrey, welcome to the European Technology Network. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Let's get into it, man. Maybe for the stream and the viewers, do you want to just give a brief introduction as to who you are, what your role is, and what your focus is with Optic as well? And then we have a bunch of questions here that we can get into.
Of course. My name is Andrey Doronichev. I'm a technologist. Naturally a product manager and software engineer who gradually became an AI life scientist.
Nice.
Okay, this is a bit too much of a word, but what we do is we build AI native infrastructure for the next generation of pharma companies developing drugs.
Let's go. This is okay. There seems to be a bio slash AI themed show in many ways here today. Can you maybe give us a picture of when this was started, why you founded this, what the founding story is, and then we can get into it after that.
Of course. So I spent 14 years at Google building some large-scale data-driven products, and most famously, I was the head of product for the YouTube app, which obviously is a massive data-driven product. And that just gave me insight into how this kind of transformation, infrastructure level transformation can impact the whole industry. Like YouTube literally reinvented what television used to be. Mm-hmm. And what made it possible was back then novel machine learning research that enabled us to deal with dramatic amounts of unstructured data in a meaningful way. For example, just think of a search box on YouTube.
Yeah.
You type in a query that makes sense to you as someone who is looking for something, but then the machinery underneath the surface has to watch, quote unquote, billions and billions and billions of hours of unstructured pixel data and try to make sense out of it, and then try to find that one particular exact video that matches your criteria. So when I graduated from Google in 2021 and decided that I wanted to start my own company, I was thinking of a problem space where I could apply similar techniques, but where the result would matter a lot. And that's what brought us to drugs. The thing is, throughout the history of humanity, initially drugs were discovered by chance. Humans would venture into the woods and try this plant, that plant. Some would be medicine, some would be poison, some would be both. And that is how initially our drugs, we understood biology and molecular biology of cell. We started moving closer towards engineering molecules. So designing them atom by atom to fit a particular shape within the target protein, specific pocket, and so forth. And our thesis when we started Optic was, well, AI is about to transform every kind of knowledge work. Science and drug development is knowledge. So if we can use AI to find that one video in a huge bucket of billions of hours of unstructured data, or we can use AI to generate a picture or a video or a text, why wouldn't we use it to find that one molecule in trillions of options that would be that particular oncology drug? Why wouldn't we use it to generate that particular design that is required to drug this or that target? And that is the origin story of Optic. And then from there, of course, there's been a long and exciting path.
Dude, so cool, so cool. I have to ask, like, what the transition from head of product to co-founder and CEO of Optic, like, what's that jump like? That this is a space that, and when you explain it, I'm seeing the similarities from like a first principles perspective as how you're approaching these problems. But like, what's that switch been like? It must be a crazy context switch, right? Like, I'd love to know more.
Well, as you mentioned, the first principles thinking works, and that's generally what's driven my entire career. Just thinking from the ground up and looking at the problem, not from the lens of specialist, but from the lens of creative generalist. And when you understand first principles, the specialized skills are acquirable by hiring right people, the right team. So by Optic is roughly 50-50 computer scientists and hardcore life scientists who spend their career from lab bench scientists all the way to like CEOs of biotech companies at some point, or executives at big pharma. And so a combination of this talent on one team, of course, helps a lot. And the trick here and the complexity here comes from making those different constituencies talk to each other the same language. And one person who consulted us at some point, a pharma professional, a journalist in the pharma field, wrote this essay, Programmers are from Mars, life scientists are from Venus, obviously playing on the famous book. And I couldn't agree more. When you first start something like this, you realize that the cultures of tech industry and bio industry are just coming from different places, even starting with the motto, I spend my life thinking, move fast, break things, as in take risks, fail fast. That's the motto of the tech industry, right? If you're a doctor or you're a drug developer, you live and breathe by first do no harm principle, which is the opposite. It's minimizing your risks and moving slow and figuring out things, that will be safe. So even starting from here, they do not match, and it takes a lot of time to build it together. So the transition was interesting. But the way I think about it is, I spent a few years building hardware products. At Google, I was in charge of launching the VR platform and all our VR and AR devices. starting with the cardboard version, if you remember the cardboard viewer for virtual reality. That was my product too. And so molecules are also hardware. They're just tiny hardware. And so in a way, your approach to designing this small hardware process-wise is similar. It's of course way more complicated because it's so tiny.
Sure.
And it has to deal with a live organism, the human body, which is the most complex thing we all have ever encountered in this whole universe, right? It's like one cell of 14 trillion cells you have in your body is the most complex computer and machine you've ever seen in your life and will ever be able to touch. And so building hardware for this very complicated system is, of course, very hard, but that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah. Okay. This is such a fascinating way of looking at this whole thing. Can you maybe break down like Optic Inc. and I guess specifically some of the products or the products itself, like how, what does this look like? What is the breakdown here?
Yeah. So there are several layers. First of all, when you think about AI for drug development, first thing that comes to mind is some magical ChatGPT-like AI that generates this molecule design, and then this molecule is a drug, right? Mm-hmm. Well, even if we had that, that would be the very first step in a long journey that is drug development. So designing a molecule, the developmental candidate that kind of works in the lab, or maybe you tried it on a mouse, and you've proven that it works somewhat, is just that starting line of this marathon that follows, which is translational issues from animal testing to human testing, for example. Not always biology of a mouse corresponds to biology of a human. So even if you had this molecule that your AI generated and you were able to put it in the lab and confirm that it worked in the lab animal, does not at all mean that you have a drug in your hands. You have a nice developmental candidate. Because if mouse biology translated to humans, we would have all sorts of issues solved by now. But the truth is, right now is a great time to be a very rich and very sick mouse, because we have all sorts of drugs for you in this case. So once you have that, like questions are, what are the AI tools that will help you take it through clinical development, through clinical trials, recruiting, selecting patient cohorts, and that's where just incorrect design of the study or too broad of a criteria for patient selection might kill otherwise a very good drug. Think of it as a ad campaign in digital world not targeted correctly, and the whole budget goes and your conversion rates are 0, and so you did meet your goals. If you narrowed your criteria for that ad and targeted it way better, the campaign would have been successful, right? So clinical trial is like that. Think of it this way: if you have an oncology drug that works perfectly well for certain patients with certain biomarkers, certain type of mutation, you find a way to select those patients for clinical trial just specifically that narrowly, you would have a blockbuster success. Mm-hmm. But if you just say, hey, every patient with this kind of cancer in the world, and then the response rate is tiny, efficacy is very small, your clinical trial fails. So that is the next 5 to 10 years of your life. And then after that, there is, of course, commercialization and regulatory approval and commercialization steps, which are also in their own extremely complex.
Sure.
So what would be your AI infrastructure to help with those stages? And so to wrap it all up, at Bioptic, we build AI native infrastructure across all those layers, starting with the scientific AI. Bioptic B1, B2, and B3 neural nets were designed for this preclinical work of actually discovering or designing a molecule, and then agentic layers for later stages of development through clinical development all the way to commercialization.
Yeah, your thinking is so unique, and I want to ask you maybe a bit of a broader question on, you see these examples of people who, they come into an industry not necessarily having been, within the industry for for the years that other people had been in that industry, and the way that you think is very different, and therefore allows you to come up with different ideas of how to solve problems. Can you talk to us about almost like the advantage of coming into this industry, having been at Google in a very different industry, and now moving into that moving into a completely different space? How do some of these experts kind of differ in the way that you think compared to their thinking of solving certain problems?
I think when you're going through a platform shift like our humanity is going through at the moment,
sure.
It is useful to have people looking at old problem spaces through a new angle.
Yeah.
That said, I want to warn right here, right now, it is not an industry in which you can just jump in and start making drugs. Like, that's not the only reason I'm capable of doing this is because of my team. Like,
sure.
My partner in crime and president of the company she spent 25 years in Korea, from lab bench scientist or biologist all the way to being executive at big pharma companies and later on at Google too. So it's just a different level of expertise, and we employ 5 PhDs across chemistry and biology. So that's
you need
you need experts. That said, I do believe it's actually really exciting that people from tech industry are now coming to drug development and bio with this AI wave, rethinking what's possible in the new world. And the reason why it's advantageous for the industry and for those people is because you take business thinking patterns from other industries and you translate them into the industry that never had that approach or that infrastructure. And I think like the previous example of such transition is from retail to e-commerce.
Yeah.
Just think about this time when internet just appeared, and retail was an industry that existed for what, centuries, thousands of years. And there were certain ways of doing things. You had a storefront, you had shelves, you had this, you had that. And then some techies, some computer geeks from a basement decided to start Amazon.com. And they had a completely different approach. And they had different approach to marketing. They had different approach to pricing. They had different approach to many things. Look what happened. If you're not e-commerce native retailer by now, you probably do. So similarly, we are convinced that pharma will become AI native in the next 5 to 10 years. Every pharma company will become that. And we at Bioptic are the company that runs that novel AI native business of pharma.
Yeah. Damn, dude, this has been such an interesting conversation. We've got about 25, 30 seconds left, and we'll definitely have to have you back on as well. I'd love to keep up with this, but what have you got coming up that's exciting? Where can we send people towards, the viewers, listeners? Yeah, where can we point people?
Yeah, please come to optic.inc. It's our website, and we have contact forms and all the details. And also take a look at our latest paper published called Hunt Globally. It's a preprint, but for those of you with AI background or pharma background, it's a lot of data and fascinating numbers showing how Bioptic works better than any existing AI platform out there that is not designed for pharma.
There you go.
Let's go. Thank you so much for joining us, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, as we say,
thank you so much for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. And yeah, welcome back anytime.
Cheers.
Great to meet you.
Dude. Have a good one.
Ciao. Levi did business banking behind with Airwallex. Go to airwallex.com. Next on the show, we have Philip Johnston. He is the founder and CEO of Starcloud. I think he's in. Can you hear us, Philip? How's it going? Yeah, good. Is it really early morning where you are?
Yes, it is very early morning.
I apologize.
Thank you for joining us. Anyway. Thank you for braving that. Dude, we got a bunch of stuff to get into. Maybe actually, before we get into like an intro on you and Starcloud as well, I think a congratulations is in order to you. You are recently engaged, so yep, congrats.
Thank you very much.
We would love to just ask. I know that you posted this onto Twitter, but we were a little bit confused as to the proposal. What did you do specifically? It was like a satellite was flying over when you proposed. Like, I just have to ask because it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I secretly wrote the proposal. I wrote, I love you to outer space and back, will you marry me, to my fiance on the Starcloud 1 satellite that we launched in November. And then I took her to see the launch in Florida from Cape Canaveral. And then like 6 months later, I took her to Mexico, and as it was passing above at like 6 a.m. in the morning, I proposed.
I mean, if there is an award on Earth for best proposal, that has to be
probably up there. Yeah, it's definitely
How do you top this? I saw loads of tweets. Everyone was like, "Okay, this can't be topped anymore. Like, I might as well just give up now."
I got a bunch that was like, "I'm not showing this to my wife."
So good.
Too good. Well, dude, let's jump in. I mean, another congratulations for the recent raise as well. $1.1 billion valuation, pretty crazy. Can you talk to us? How was the last kind of few weeks been, and how are you kind of deploying the money? Is it more hiring? What's the kind of focus right now, or is it R&D? You guys in like R&D phase for this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Actually, a lot of the cash we raised is going to go immediately to launch and communications contracts that we're signing now, mainly with SpaceX. So we're going to book a dedicated Falcon 9 launch. We may resell half of it, but just one of those is like $75 million. So yeah, a big chunk of it's going to that. Yeah, that's the main, and then of course we're ramping up hiring and ramping up R&D as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, stupid question from me, but can you maybe just explain that a little bit more in terms of like you can resell these launches in a way? Like, what is there some sort of like secondary market on positioning? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you break that down? That's cool.
Yeah. So launch slots right now are booked up until end of 2029. Actually, there's like nothing you can buy at the moment from any launch company. So the only thing you can do is you can buy a dedicated launch with Rocket Lab if you want, but it's on the order of like several times more expensive per kilogram than SpaceX rideshare program. Or you can buy your own dedicated like Falcon 9, which is what they use for the rideshare program, and then you use say half of it, and then you can resell the other half of the capacity, and that's what we're thinking of doing. And then we can have a dedicated launch in 2028.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'd love to just jump straight into the next one we've got. I mean, it's been a bit of a hot topic. We've covered it a bunch on the show with some other people, but in the past you've said Earth is running out of room and power for data centers. Power for data centers AI requires. Why is a like vacuum in space like a better environment for this? I know there was a few sort of conversation tangents that went off after the Doronichev conversation with Musk a while back on Cheeky Pint, but I'd love to get your take on why is that realm better suited?
Yeah, the main reason is it's actually not necessarily space, but it's literally energy on Earth, and in particular, if you want to build a new energy project to power a data center on Earth, like in North America, for example, you're now looking at like a 5 to 10 year lead time just on permitting, and the reason is like not many people want a new either a new natural gas power station or a new if you want to cover 10 square kilometers of countryside with solar panels, like there's a lot of people that's going to piss off. It's a lot of like tribal land and all this kind of stuff. Sure. And so the quickest way to deploy new energy projects for data centers will soon be building them in space. And the reason is we can just launch quickly. We have access to almost unlimited low-cost energy in the form of solar. The main constraint we have right now is the launch cost. And with the new Starship launch vehicle that's coming online, we're expecting that to be much less of a constraint going forward.
And then talk to us about the chip manufacturers, and I know you work very closely with NVIDIA, right? So you've now got, I guess, that bottleneck kind of out the way almost, or it's definitely less friction on the kind of launching. What about working closely with these chip manufacturers? What's the demand looking like? How are you kind of strategy? What's the strategy behind kind of choosing one partner over the other? I know is it NVIDIA's developed specific chips for Starcloud? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So we're working with them on what they're calling the Space Rubin 1 chip, which is a chip which is slightly optimized for thermal. So you want to run these chips hotter, slightly optimized for mass, and slightly optimized for radiation shielding. And when I say slightly, I do mean slightly. Like for example, we were, with not much modification, we were able to cut half the mass of an H100. Like for example, remove the casing, remove the heatsink or change it out, remove the AC to DC converters. Like these things are pretty easy to do, and if they came out of the factory like that, it would just make everybody's life easier. And that's what we're working with them on basically. I would say, there's a bunch of others that are doing R&D on chip design for space. SpaceX is building their own version, and then it looks like Google are going to modify the TPU to be more optimized for space. But yeah, we in particular are working with Google.
So it seems like everyone now is not, in the past sort of 4 or 5 years, taking almost suggest like looking at space as an emerging market, right? And there are millions of different use cases or variables. Like we've spoken to guys, who was it? Icarus Robotics, who are trying to decrease the cost of labor in space. There's there's starting to be like a wide span of new technologies that are popping up against it. When was this shift? Because I feel like it's becoming a lot more common now. People are looking at it. People are investing a lot more into it. There are more founders popping up in the space. Like, do you have a take on that? Like, so when did this become more of a viable option?
Yeah, my view is that it was essentially with the rideshare program from SpaceX, because what it enabled is companies like us within, our first spacecraft only cost us $2.5 million all in to design, build, launch, and operate. And the reason for that is the launch cost was only $300,000, and in the past that would have been 10 to 20 times more expensive if you were either doing a dedicated launch or some other method. So I think it was really SpaceX's rideshare program that opened up the space industry. And then the other thing is there's this huge optimism for where the launch costs can go with fully reusable rockets, and in particular with Starship. And I think that's driving a lot of interest.
Yeah. How is like Blue Origin getting on with that stuff? I swear I saw something recently that Bezos had managed to, he had like a returning cargo or something. He managed to land a rocket recently. What's that like looking like at the moment?
Yeah, they landed the booster, I think for the second time now, which is great. They got a lot of flack for that launch because they had a payload from AST on board, which they didn't deliver to the right orbit. But I mean, these early launches, you shouldn't be flying payloads in my mind. It's just going to piss everyone off. And like, there's so much to learn from having failures and pushing the rocket to the limit such that you're likely to have a failure that, I don't really understand why they're flying payloads at this point, but anyway.
Speaking more towards like Starcloud, so Starcloud 2, you recently announced that it would be the first to mine Bitcoin in orbit. Is that right? Like,
yes, correct.
What is why is this something that needs to be done? Can you maybe break this down for us a bit more as well?
Yeah, Bitcoin mining, there's a few potential reasons why Bitcoin mining might be one of the best early use cases of this. So if what we're doing is, if we're doing it for energy, then Bitcoin is like one of the users of low cost energy is Bitcoin mining. So if you go to some remote source of energy, it could be flare gas, or it could be some remote dams or solar projects or things like this. They're getting energy on the order of 1 to 2 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's where Bitcoin mining starts to be profitable. And if you can instead do that in space, then you can use those things for other potentially more useful applications on Earth. And so, if assuming we actually are going to be cost competitive on energy, then that's one of the first early use cases, because you don't need high connectivity, you don't need customers really. You can just use the energy basically.
Yeah, sure. And then I also wanted to touch on the the arguments of physically having data centers in space and whether that's even viable, a bunch of factors. I feel like that's kind of died down a little bit. Can you talk to us about like what's, give us a temperature check on that, whole argument, I guess?
So when we first announced about 2 years ago now, there a lot of people were ridiculing us and saying it wasn't possible for a few reasons. Number one, people thought that the thermals were impossible to solve. So as in, data centers produce a lot of heat and space is a vacuum, and a vacuum is an insulator, like a vacuum flask. So people thought that was impossible. And then also the chips are designed they're not at the moment designed for this higher radiation environment in space. And so people thought there would be too many bit flips. I think we basically dispelled most of those fears with the launch of our first spacecraft, Starcloud 1. And with that, we had the first NVIDIA H100 on board, launching in November last year, which is about 100 times more powerful GPU compute than has been in space before. And the reason we solved it is the way you get rid of heat in space is you have a large surface area, and if you keep that warm, it will emit in infrared the heat. So we're talking about, if you can keep a surface area at around 50 degrees C in space and not point it towards the sun, then you're dissipating about 800 watts per square meter. And your solar panels generate about 200 watts per square meter. So you've got about, you only need a quarter again the surface area in radiator than you have on the solar panels. Actually, it bamboozles me that people thought this was going to be an issue, because the International Space Station has a radiator that's been working very well for the last 20 years. The problem with the ISS radiator is that it's both expensive and heavy. And so, our challenge is to make it cheap and light. And that's what 70% of our engineering team is working on. And we've now got a radiator which is 10 times less mass per watt of dissipation than the ISS, and 100 times less cost per watt of dissipation than the ISS. So that's that. And then on the radiation side, it just involves a lot of testing. So we've done a whole bunch of ground testing in different particle accelerators. So we did 3 rounds of testing at the cyclotron in Knoxville for high velocity protons. We basically put the chips in a chamber, and over a 24-hour period, we expose it to 5 years worth of radiation dose.
Sure.
And then we did the same for heavy ions, a different type of particle. We went to the Brookhaven National Lab in New York, and we also exposed the chips. So I think we're the only people in the world now that know where either an H100 or a Blackwell chip from NVIDIA will fail if you blast it with high velocity protons. And then and then we use that to then inform our choice on shielding and to write software to mitigate bit flips and things.
That's insane. Is there like a current sort of like response to the arguments of like servicing these things in space? Is there like is there an argument for like servicing like a data center in space at the moment? Like, typically if it's on Earth, you just go and sort it out with like a human would just go and do that, right? But is there a way in which people are thinking around, okay, like, so this might be a problem in the future, how do we address this?
At the moment, we're not going to have access to the spacecraft, at least for the next few iterations of it, we won't have access after we launch. And so, it's pretty similar to the way Starlink satellites function, which is you have redundancy on the critical systems, and then you over-provision things which fail over time. Like solar panels and radiators, you expect to lose a few % per year, so you can just over-provision them slightly. It's a bit similar to a mobile phone. Like, how many people have ever had a mobile phone serviced in the last 5 years? I haven't. I don't know if you have. But, So you can just make these things pretty reliable, and that's what we're going to do.
That's awesome. Last question. I mean, I know we're coming up to time. Last question. Like, why is this mission so important to you? How did you, like, what's the founding story here? I know it was like YC originally, but like what? Yeah, just talk to us a little about the origins.
Yeah, you're a Nottingham alumni, right?
I am a Nottingham University alumni. Willoughby Hall.
I am also a Nottingham University alumni.
Oh, really? Which hall were you in?
I was in. I can't remember now. Broadgate, I think. Is that right? Yeah.
Oh, Broadgate Park. Yeah, you wouldn't remember because you guys don't have a dining hall. As far as I remember.
No, we didn't. I was a chef. I was cooking up my meals. Oh, that's so funny. But go on, keep going.
No, it's just about the founding and the origin stories, right? Like YC company, you're now the fastest to ever hit unicorn status. Just how do you? What origin stories here? Founding story. Like, why did you choose this problem and think like this needs to be done?
Yeah, I started So I've been interested in space since I was a kid. I was at McKinsey in the Middle East working on some projects with various governments on satellite projects for different space agencies, and that's where I started to notice the launch cost was coming down very rapidly. And so 3 years ago, I kind of randomly on a weekend decided to take a trip to Starbase, Texas, where SpaceX is building the Starship rocket. And I was just blown away by what they're building, and I was inspired by what is coming next for humanity just by seeing that. And so I started speaking with my co-founder Ezra about what does a much lower launch cost and much greater access to space enable. And the first thing, honestly, we were looking at was a business model called space-based solar, which is where you have huge solar panels in space and you somehow beam that power down. We quickly realized, though, that you lose 95% of the energy in transmission. And so there is a break-even launch cost where that makes sense. We think it's like $50 a kilo. Whereas if you can find a cheap way to get the energy consumptive element, and in our case, that's data centers, to space, then you don't lose all the energy in transmission. You need much smaller solar panels. And so then the break-even launch cost that we came to is around $500 a kilo, which is way closer to where we are today. And so we put together a white paper on that, and then got going with my third co-founder Adi, who's at SpaceX. I think when I allow myself grander visions, I like to think that we're the first company ever whose natural extension is to build a Dyson sphere or Matryoshka brain, which is it's basically where you surround a star with as many solar panels as you could possibly fit, and then you use that to power compute. It's like the physical limit of the most amount of compute a star system can hold is a Matryoshka brain. Yeah. And I'm like pretty confident that that's the natural extension of any intelligent civilization. And so I think it's quite cool that we're on that path.
Yeah, 100%.
This is there a timeline? Is there a timeline for that? Do you think, or is it like
you could build a Dyson sphere in about 10,000 years? I think.
That's so cool. I love it.
Hopefully we'll still be streaming.
Not that long. 10,000 years.
When you do that, come back on the show.
Galactic. Yeah, sure.
That's so wild. This has been by far the most interesting conversation we've had on the show.
Very cool, very cool. Well, look, thank you very much for waking up early and for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Keep us updated.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.
Ciao. Appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. Have a good one.
Framer, build better sites faster. Go to framer.com/ETN. That was Tuesday, the 28th of April. We will see you on Thursday.